Good morning, students. We welcome you to this BOS for your success session for final paper 7, direct tax laws and international taxation. I'm Priya Subramanian.
I'm Aparna Chauhan.
And we'll be taking you through the case scenarios and MCQs in the RTP in the session. Before that, we would like to tell you generally relating to the applicability and relating to how you should go about studying, because the syllabus is so vast, the syllabus of DT is so vast that you must have a focus as to how much of weightage and how much of time you have to devote to which topics. That is very important, because only then you'll be able to manage the subject as a whole, because it's too vast. It's really very vast, and so that's why section wise and skill wise section wise weightages have been assigned, so that you can take a decision as to how much time and how much in depth you should go into which topics. So before that, applicability, as far as applicability, you must all be knowing the amendments made by the Finance Act 2022 are applicable. Notification circulars issued up to 30th April 2023. For November, 6 months cutoff date for circulars and notifications. So what is the material applicable to you? It's the October 2021 edition of this study material, read along with the supplementary study paper. You have to read it along with the supplementary study paper 2022. The supplementary study paper is also divided chapter wise in line with the study materials, and so that you can easily read it. You won't face any difficulty in reading the material. In some chapters where there's been too many amendments, like in case of charitable trust, advanced ruling and dispute resolution, we've given the whole of the content of the chapter in the supplementary material. Otherwise, in other places, wherever the amendment are, the relevant section is there. Most of the places, the relevant section is given or the relevant portion is repeated. If there is a very minor change, then we've written what the change is, and we've also written that you have to read it along with the study material. So clear-cut instructions are given in the initial pages of the supplementary study paper, as well as in every chapter in the amendments and all, how you go about reading the supplementary study paper. It is very easy because it's been divided chapter-wise. But supplementary study paper, since it was released last year, it covers amendments up to 31st October 2022. So the 6 months circulars notifications plus the judicial update, that is the containing the recent important Supreme Court rulings, those are all web hosted. Statutory and judicial update are web hosted in the BOS knowledge portal. That is also very important, because the judicial update is changing some of the existing positions. That also we've given it in the respective case law, also that you have to ignore this particular case law in the study material. So it's very important. In fact, many questions in May 23 came from MCQs, came from the supplementary study paper. And from the judicial update, you got the case law based questions for the May 23. So these things are very, very important. Supplementary study paper, statutory and judicial update are very, very important in addition to your content in the study material. In addition, we've hosted MCQs and case scenarios for May and November 23 examination in the BOS knowledge portal. Kindly practice all those things, because then you will know how much you have understood. One is reading the contents and all. By reading the contents, you try to understand it, but you must know to apply it correctly, because it's a final level paper. Application is very important. You might have the knowledge, but you have to correctly apply it in a given situation, and the situation is likely to be tricky and complicated because it's a final level paper. So to help you in this process, we have web hosted scenarios and MCQs which have been updated as per the provisions of law applicable for your examination. And then finally, the RTP questions and the MTP. MTP, you should try to solve it on your own. RTP also, you should try to solve it on your own. RTP contains questions on the latest developments, so that you know, even supplementary study paper amendments, how they are, you have to apply it when you are asked a scenario-based question or a descriptive question. So this is as far as I think section-wise weightages you can explain.
Yeah, one thing is, friend, I want to tell you, okay, don't read the question. Whenever you are preparing for an examination, try to solve your question. Like descriptive question especially are very, very, of course, in MCQ-based question, you have to arrive at the answer, applying the proper provisions and all. But in descriptive, of course, presentation also matters. So if you are, whatever you are writing, you substantiate with the proper reasoning. It's not something which is mathematical. You just arrive directly, come to the, what is the total income, whatever you are doing it, right? Computing your total income, determining the tax liability, doing the adjustments, right? And properly substantiate the things with the proper reasoning, how you are doing it, right? So this matter a lot. So what the students generally do, they read the question and in mind they solve it. So don't do it. do and in a written form properly you solve it, and then you compare your answer with the solutions given in the RTP or in the MTP or in your study material itself. Whenever you just check it now, then you will find where you are going wrong. So highlight those points. So those kinds of mistake you need not to you are not going to repeat it in the examination. This thing will set in your mind, yeah, these things we have done wrong. So now that time you will memorize those points and you are not going to repeat those mistakes again in the examination. So solve the questions, right? This is very, very important for you.
And this is the correct methodology of learning.
Yeah.
Not reading the questions, answers to the questions. That in that way you'll never be able to. You'll be able to finish your studies fast. This one, but you won't have actually learned. Learning will come only when you apply on your own. You can make a lot of mistakes. That is fine. That's a part of the process of learning. When you apply a complicated concept, you're bound to make a mistake somewhere or the other. But in this stage, it's okay because it's your learning stage only. If you do many mistakes now also, you can correct yourself, you can clear your concepts, and that will help you finally during the examination.
Yeah.
Examination, you might get a totally new thing. See, the concepts are all prescribed, the application, the manner in which it has to be applied, you might get a completely new question on your own. But when you have already solved so many questions on your own, you will get the confidence that exam question also you can do it. But if you're simply reading it now, then only if you get the exactly similar question in the exam, you'll be able to answer it. Even if they have given some trick, they've changed it slightly, they've tried to modify it.
Based on the new amendments,
you will not be able to do it because you've just read the answer. You know how it has been dealt with. Why it has been dealt, you have to know. More than how it is, why they have dealt it, what provision have they applied. So that is important, and that will be possible only if you solve everything on your own. If you solve it, even if it's going to take you more time, it's okay. Even if you're going to make mistakes, it's okay. These are all part of the learning process, and this is the correct learning process.
Right, very right. So as you know that 30% is your MCQ based questions and 70% is descriptive parts. Further, the subject is divided into two broad this part. 70% is your direct tax laws and 30% is your international taxation. In that, we have specified the section wise weightages, because the DT is very vast paper and every time it's keep on changing also with the amendment, a lot of huge amendments being come into picture, and that make DT interesting also, of course. Right. So for understanding it and how to, approach the examination, how to study this, use this section wise weightages things. Right? Keep in mind on what aspects you can, fetch good marks. These are the strength areas. Whatever be the questions they ask, you will not going to lose any marks. So make those areas your strength, right? Like, for example, section 1, of course, is a big one. Big section. Its weightage is assigned is 35% to 45% marks, but the chapters are 1 to 12, so all 5 heads of income are covered, carry forward, set of deductions, and ultimately the computation of total income and tax liabilities of various entities. Most importantly is the companies, right? So for it comprises of various entities. Computation ID, first question will be asked from this section of 14 marks. It's a compulsory question. It will be for determine the tax liability and total income of companies, firms, or any other entity. Most important यहाँ पे is your section 115 BAA, BAB, concession tax regime vis-a-vis the normal provisions of the act. These are the two regimes wherever the company can use the tax planning. They can evaluate their businesses and accordingly take the benefit of this concession tax regime to minimize their tax liabilities. So these सेक्शन 115 BAA, BAB, रीड देम वेरी केयरफुली. बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ के जाना है इन सेक्शंस को. इसके बेस पे क्वेश्चंस आ सकते हैं बेस्ड फ्रॉम दिस सेक्शन, और 14 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन आता है फ्रॉम दिस चैप्टर, फ्रॉम चैप्टर 1 to 12, and another 8 marks question also can be asked. This is the general trend of the paper, the way they have asked. Case scenario based question can also be asked from this section, or MCQs also. So this is very important section. You have to do it. There is no other choice, right? You have to do this properly. Then second section is carrying 5 to 10%. It comprises of only one chapter, but it is charitable trust, of course, and it's totally been revamped last year. First regime, second is the section 1023C. You have to read along with your section 11 and 12. Many amendments been coming to effect from Finance Act 22. So this being given in your supplementary full-fledged chapter is given. One chapter is 8 marks. The question generally can be asked, right? in the descriptive form or in MCQs based form. बच्चों sometimes students also ask us how to do the MCQs portion, कैसे करना है हम MCQs portion की preparation कैसे करनी है. The preparation strategy for MCQs or descriptive is same, but the manner of examination जहाँ पे आपको करना है वहाँ पे क्या होगा, MCQs में अगर if you gone wrong you will get 0. In case of descriptive, step marking is there. So डूइंग द एमसीक्यूज इज कि आप जब अटेम्प्ट कर रहे हैं एमसीक्यूज उस टाइम आपको बहुत अच्छे से क्वेश्चन को पढ़ना है, उसके ऑप्शंस को पढ़ना है, रीड इट ट्वाइस. सो इस मैनर में करना है कि आपको कहीं ना कहीं गलती नहीं हो जाए उसको, वहां पे आपको प्रोविजन अप्लाई करना है. देन यू नीड नॉट टू गिव योर रीजनिंग्स एनीथिंग, यू हैव टू चूज द ऑप्शन, दैट ऑप्शन शुड बी करेक्ट. आपको पता है गलती से आप गलत OMR में फिल ना करके आ जाओ, ये सारी मिस्टेक्स हैं जो बच्चे कर जाते हैं. तो ये दीज थिंग्स यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड व्हाइल अटेम्प्टिंग एमसीक्यूज आल्सो. सो चैप्टर 13 ओनली है, 8 मार्क्स में क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, इसमें से आता है जनरली 8 मार्क्स में, 4 मार्क्स से क्वेश्चन और समथिंग. मेनी अमेंडमेंट्स आर देयर. वी आर गोइंग टू रिवाइज दोज अमेंडमेंट्स ऑल्सो फ्रॉम विद द हेल्प ऑफ वन केस सिनेरियो, वन MCQ वी हैव गोइंग टू कवर इन दिस सेशन. So this chapter 13, then again text planning and text avoidance guard provisions are also there in section. This section 4 marks question generally being asked from this chapter. 4 marks, only one chapter. Chapter 14, 5 to 10% weightage is assigned. Then another section 4. This is should be your strength actually. This is not very difficult, not very complicated. Of course, based on amendments keep on coming in this section chapter every year. Section 194 been inserted last year. 194O is not last year's amendment, but of 194O, 206C, 1G. So many things which are very important. Interplay between integration of many provisions are there in this section. Case laws based questions can be asked from this section. Your MCQ portion can be there. So around 14 marks cover is there, coverage is there from this section 4. So collection is a TDS provisions only, very not very difficult. इसमें मार्क्स लूज नहीं करना है आपको किसी भी हाल में, आपको एक भी मार्क्स अंदर नहीं जाना चाहिए इसमें, आपको पूरा का पूरा मुझे अचीव करना है इसमें, ठीक है.
You have to remember the rates carefully.
Yeah,
you have to remember the threshold limits carefully, and you have to see, what is it? Sometimes the threshold limit is not greater than, or that particular limit, whether it comes within the this one. And 194Q and 206C1H, how they apply vis-a-vis each other. 206C1, 206C1A, and then 194Q, 206C1H, what order they come. In fact, in our earlier BOS sessions, we had covered case scenarios on that. You can watch that also, because that is very important. And this particular one chapter, it's just a single chapter which has a very good weightage. And as she said, you should not lose any marks in this. You should be thorough. It is, of course, you have to know, but the moment you start doing it, you will automatically get to know what is this thing. If you try to solve more questions, there are a number of questions, number of MCQs and scenarios and descriptive questions, illustrations on TDS. So you have to solve everything again on your own.
Yeah. Then in section 5, 15 to 25% weightage is assigned to say procedural laws. Basically, it covers the procedural law aspects from income tax authorities to offences and prosecutions, right? A higher number of chapters are more in that, but the thing is that you cannot skip. Of course, you cannot skip it anything. You have to do like assessment procedure is very important in this case. Income tax authorities में power to survey, collection of information, search cases. These are very important things. Penalties, of course, penalties whenever you are doing some provision, because penalties are arising from the provision itself. You are not complying with the provision properly, so penalties are attracted, and offences and prosecution too. So these are whenever you are whatever the provisions you are reading, failure to comply with those provisions, penalties attract होंगी. So उस टाइम पे आपको वहाँ से memorize करते हुए चलना है penalties को. But separate question can be asked from this. Penalties based on MCQ based भी आ सकता है आपका इसमें, case scenario based आ सकता है, descriptive form question आ सकते हैं, और case law based also questions can be asked from this section. Then the last in DT portion is section 6, 5 to 10% weightage assigned, liability in special cases and miscellaneous provisions. Miscellaneous provisions में I can say कि section of course 269 SS, 269 ST, these are ST are very important sections. Read them carefully. कि उसमें क्या होता है ना कि हम अंडरस्टैंड कर जाते हैं, बट व्हेनेवर सम केस सिनेरियो इज गिवन टू यू, वहां पे एप्लीकेशन में कहीं ना कहीं मतलब देयर आर सम ट्रिकी थिंग्स जहां पे वी कैन टेंड टू डू द मिस्टेक्स. सो वो चीजें आपको बहुत केयरफुली देखनी है, पढ़नी है, समझनी है, अप्लाई करनी है. सो ये वाले सेक्शंस आप बहुत अच्छे से करके जाना है. इसके बेस पर जनरली वी फाउंड की क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, राइट. सो दिस इज फॉर योर पार्ट 1. Then part 2, of course, again 30%, but लिमिटेड पोर्शंस हैं ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग में, जैसे कि जनरली क्वेश्चंस आता है सेकेंडरी एडजस्टमेंट्स पे 92C कवर, 94B आता है, ALP की मेथड्स दे आस्क यू, दिस टाइप क्वेश्चंस बीइंग आस्क्ड फ्रॉम ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग, नॉन रेजिडेंट टैक्सेशन, अगेन वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट? you have to do it very properly. many questions किसी भी फॉर्म में, डिस्क्रिप्टिव फॉर्म में आ सकते, रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस अगेन आपने इंटर पे पढ़ा होगा, but residential status is now is such thing which are being tested at elective papers also, उसके बिना तो हो ही नहीं सकते इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस के बेसिस पे, तो दैट यू हैव टू डू इट प्रॉपरली, कैसे करना है उसके बाद यू आर, अगर आपने डिटरमाइन प्रॉपर किया देन ओनली यू विल कम टू नो टू द टोटल इनकम करेक्टली. सो नॉन रेजिडेंट टैक्सेशन, DTA अगेन वन ऑफ द क्वेश्चन इज बीइंग आस्क्ड फ्रॉम DTA पोर्शन, ठीक है, इसमें आएगा. Then advanced ruling में that bar is now relevant for you. Board for advanced ruling only is relevant for you. Equalization levy again is very very important. So from this section generally क्या होता है कि from second question से आपका second part जो होता है which is for 6 marks are from this international taxation, वहां से आता है आपका 6 marks में क्वेश्चन आता है सेकंड क्वेश्चन में, plus MCQs and case scenario can also be asked from this section. Equalization levy again is very important. 165 and 165A बेस थिंग, उन दोनों में व्हाट इज द इंटीग्रेशन, उस पे बेस पे क्वेश्चन कैन बी आस्क्ड कि कहाँ पे आपको लग रहा है 165 नहीं लग रहा बट 165A विल बी एप्लीकेबल, सो दैट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड प्रॉपरली कि वेयर एवर 165 इज नॉट अट्रैक्टेड इज एप्लीकेशन ऑफ 165A इज देयर. सो वो आपको बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ना है. P कहाँ पे है, किसके हैंड से, 165A इज फॉर the person who is receiving the income, who is providing the services, consideration, तो उसको खुद को he has to pay the tax, equalization levy. Whereas 165 क्या कहता है कि you have to deduct the equalization levy who is making the payment to the non-resident. तो ये दोनों में डिफरेंस है, वो आपको बहुत अच्छे से समझ के जाना है. फिर 3, this is generally knowledge based question being asked from these chapters: application and interpretation of tax treaties, fundamentals of BEPS and overview of model tax. One theoretical question being asked from this section.
So the emphasis should be on the first 5 chapters. First 5 chapters, if you do very correct properly, out of 30, you should be easily able to score 25 marks.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is something which you are very sure. Now, if you do the first 5 chapters of international taxation thoroughly, of course, in non-resident taxation, you have to keep in mind, there are so many special rates. If the special rates are applied, am I being denied anything? Sometimes deduction is not allowed if you're going to apply the special concessional rate. Deduction for expenditure is not allowed. In case of long-term capital gains, indexation benefit may not be allowed. So those conditions, when there's a concessional rate, if there is an attached condition, that also you must keep in mind. So all these things, but it's very, very interesting. The part about international transaction, it's very, very interesting. And but you have to be thorough with it. You cannot read it in a hurried manner. That you have to and the questions are also of very good standard. Exam questions really are of very good standard. So that way you have to read it thoroughly. And if you read it thoroughly, out of 30, you will be able to score at least 25 marks.
Definitely. Like 115 BAC, non-residents के ऊपर also can avail is 115 BAC. 115 BAC लिखा है, opt कर रहा है, नहीं opt कर रहा है, you have to read the question carefully. Accordingly, आप देखोगे कि आपका rebate difference आ जाएगा. आपको मतलब इनकम फ्रॉम सैलरीज दिया है, BAC ऑप्ट कर रहा है, स्टैंड डिडक्शन नहीं मिलती है, वहाँ पे नॉर्मल प्रोविजंस में मिलती है, डिडक्शन है चैप्टर 6 से क्या नहीं मिलती है. तो ये वाली चीजें आपको माइंड में रखनी है कि क्वेश्चन में क्या लिखा है. नॉन रेजिडेंट के लिए सर्टेन प्रोविजंस है कि जहाँ पे क्लियरली क्वेश्चन प्रोविजन नहीं बोलता कि इट्स अप्लीकेबल टू नॉट स्पेसिफिकली नॉट फॉर नॉन रेजिडेंट और रेजिडेंट, तो वहाँ पे दोनों बेनिफिट्स ले सकते हैं. तो दोज थिंग्स यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड व्हाइल डूइंग दिस नॉन रेजिडेंट पोर्शन स्पेसिफिकली. सो दिस इज द टेबल विच इज शोइंग कि कितने मार्क्स में आता है. मैंने आपको ऑलरेडी आई एक्सप्लेन दिस थिंग कि कंपलसरी क्वेश्चन आएगा सेक्शन 1 से आता है, एंड पार्ट 1 से 8 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन अनदर कैन बी आस्क्ड बेस्ड ऑन सेक्शन. आपका LCZ से आ सकता है, 10A के बेस्ड पे आ सकता है, पार्टनरशिप फर्म का आ सकता है, या फिर आपका सेट ऑफ एंड कैरी फॉरवर्ड ऑफ अमलगमेशन कंपनीज के बेस्ड पे क्वेश्चंस जनरली बीन आस्क्ड. तो ये इस टाइप का क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम दिस सेक्शन अगेन दे कैन आस्क.
What happens now in the question paper, in the descriptive portion, 14 marks is a compulsory question generally on total income of a company firm. Then after that, all the remaining 5 questions are also 14 marks. 8 marks is for direct tax laws, and 6 marks each question is for international taxation. So each question is like that, 8 marks for DTL and 6 marks. And out of those 5 questions, you have to opt for any 4. Plus you have to do the compulsory question. So that's how the pattern comes.
हाँ, so यहाँ पे देखिए आपने यहाँ पे केस सिनेरियो बेस पे हमने लिखा हुआ, इस पे इंडिपेंडेंट क्वेश्चंस दे कैन आल्सो बी आस्क्ड. सो सेक्शन 2 में अगेन वन ऑफ द क्वेश्चन विल बी देयर either in the form of case scenario descriptive, whatever charitable trust पे है, ये आपका अमेंडमेंट्स हैं बहुत सारी, सप्लीमेंट्री बहुत अच्छे से देख के जाना, सप्लीमेंट्री में ही है पूरा चैप्टर ये वाला, सप्लीमेंट्री से आपको पढ़ना है एक एक प्रोविजन प्रॉपरली. फिर लाइक रजिस्ट्रेशन के बेस्ड पे आ जाता है क्वेश्चन, वैलिडिटी क्या रहेगी, न्यू रजिस्ट्रेशन प्रोसीजर है, सारा नया रजिस्ट्रेशन स्कीम्स बीइंग कम फॉर दिस चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट का है, मैनी अमेंडमेंट्स आर देयर. सो चैप्टर एक ही चैप्टर है, बहुत अच्छे से करके जाना. यहाँ पे ऑल्सो हम आपका रिवाइज करा देंगे अभी. फिर आए आपका टैक्स प्लानिंग पे, जनरली 4 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन बीइंग आस्क्ड फ्रॉम दिस टैक्स प्लानिंग क्या है, इवेशन क्या है, मैनेजमेंट क्या है.
0.5 means half a question.
Half marks, मतलब 4 marks it is 0.5 each thing. Then again TDS portion, again it's very very important. किसी भी टाइप में न्यू अमेंडमेंट्स पे भी आ सकता है, और आपका केस लॉ बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस भी हैं. अभी न्यू जुडिशियल अपडेट में ऑल्सो न्यू केस लॉज आर गिवन ऑन TDS, सो यू हैव टू गो थ्रू द जुडिशियल अपडेट विच इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. उसके बेसिस पे सर्टेन सम ऑफ द सम केस लॉज विच आर गिवन इन योर स्टडी मटेरियल आर ओवर रूल्ड, सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, गो थ्रू योर जुडिशियल अपडेट. देन सेक्शन 5 में अगेन दिस इज प्रोसीजरल लॉ, आपका डिस्क्रिप्टिव क्वेश्चन और MCQ बेस्ड क्वेश्चन आ सकते हैं. 147 148 वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, पावर ऑफ सर्वे, ये वाले क्वेश्चंस हैं. देन योर मिसलेनियस प्रोविजंस अगेन. देन आपका इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन में ये 4 यहाँ पे कह रहे हैं कि 4 क्वेश्चंस आएंगे, जो कि आपका फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन कंपलसरी 14 मार्क्स हो गया, रिमेनिंग अदर 5 क्वेश्चंस हैं, जिसमें 4 क्वेश्चंस में आपका 5 क्वेश्चंस में तो 1 इज ऑप्शन क्वेश्चन, राइट. सो 4 क्वेश्चंस होंगे जो कि 6 मार्क्स के विल कैरी 6 मार्क्स फॉर डिस्क्रिप्टिव क्वेश्चन. देन रिमेनिंग कैन बी आस्क्ड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ योर MCQs और case scenario based. Similarly, 1 question will be there for 6 marks from this second section, which is based on last 3 topics, right. So this is the overall pattern which is being there for your paper 7. Then time management, how to manage the time during the examination.
See, actually you have 3 hours, 3 into 60, 180 minutes. So your MCQ portion, you have to try to finishing it by 40 minutes. Because some students have told us they are able to complete it by 30 minutes also. They don't even need 40 minutes. They are able to compute in 30 minutes. Complete it in 30 minutes. If you are able to do so, it's well, but don't rush through the MCQ section. Because what happens is, when you at the first stroke, something which is which you think, this is what is being asked, and you quickly take the this one. You quickly take the answer, and then you know that what is being asked is something else. So that problem can happen. It really can happen. At any time. The options are so close. MCQ is actually meant to test that. Sometimes what is very obvious may not be the right answer. Okay, so don't think like it's very obvious this has to be the answer. But you have to read the question properly. You have to read the question, and then the options, then once more read the question, because only then you will get clarity. Because the first time reading, it is possible that you miss some point, and the options also, you read all the 4 options, then only then you will be able to find out which one is the correct options. And this is very important. So if you don't hurry up too much also in the MCQ, at the same time don't spend too much of time, because for one thing you don't have to give reasoning here, but of course your workings have to be correct. Only then you'll be able to arrive at the correct answer in case of those which require computation. So maximum 40 minutes. I would say 35 to 40 minutes is the ideal time. 30 minutes if you're doing very fast. Okay, which will give you, for remaining 5 questions you have to do, you have 140 minutes. If you take 40, you get 140, so 28 minutes per question. Compulsory question, try to do it within 25 minutes. Generally, it's okay. Compulsory questions, see, you might not be able to know 100% of the adjustments. 1 or 2 adjustments you may not be able to do, but there are stepwise markings in this case. For those you know properly, you do the adjustment properly, you give the proper reasoning. Reasoning you give SAT, when you're adding something to compute, when there's some disallowance under 40A1, 40A1A, all those things you mention that this is the reason for non-deduction of tax, that so 30% is added back. All these things you clearly mention there, or for 40A3 and adjustment, whatever it is. If you write the, many students asked, is it necessary to write the section number? See, when you write section numbers, help you to retain the provision better. When you are learning, you should read it along with the section number, because you'll be able to relate. I can't even think that I will be able to explain chapter 6 deductions without the section numbers. So section numbers that way are an integral part of taxation. So it's good that maybe you won't be able to remember clauses and subclauses and all that stuff, but section numbers are important. And so ideally you should remember it. In case you're not very sure, don't write it, because if you write wrongly section number, and you might end up losing marks. Okay? So when you have to give a reasoning, you have to give a brief reasoning, because each step will carry at the maximum 1 mark, including the reasoning. So don't spend too much of time also in that. In very short, crisply give your reasoning. Try to finish it within 25 minutes, because in all the subsequent questions there are 2 parts. 2 parts. One is DT part. You'll have 1 question, and again 1 international taxation portion. If suppose I have 25 marks or 28 minutes for each question, ideally I should try to finish by 25 minutes, because some question or the other might take more time. You never know. And if you divide it between 8 and 6 proportion, you have to take 15 minutes for direct DTL and 10 minutes for international taxation. Okay. That's 6 marker question, which sometimes might be very challenging to complete it in 10 minutes. You might end up taking more time. You might sometimes end up taking 15 minutes for that, which will eat away your time for other questions. That's what I'm trying to say. So your time management should be very good, because each 14 mark question, optional question, contains 8 marks DTL, 6 marks international taxation. And international taxation can be difficult. It's not that it's impossible. It is very scoring. As I told you, with 5 chapters and 30 marks, it's really very, very scoring. 25 marks, it's very scoring. So you have to be thorough with that. But sometimes some questions might consume more time, that you have to keep in mind. So accordingly, don't stretch beyond 25 minutes for each descriptive question overall. Okay, because some international taxation questions might take more time, and this whatever 2-3 minutes you say will be helpful in answering those questions. So this is the way you should go about in managing your time. 25 minutes for each descriptive question, pura 14 marker, I'm telling you, for each descriptive question. And then MCQ portions, you should try to complete it within 40 minutes. Why I'm telling you time management is very important is that it should not be that you know all the questions, you know the answers to all questions, but because of your improper time management, you end up leaving 1 question. So that is not at all advisable. When you know the answer and you leave a 6 marker in the end, or you leave an 8 marker in the end, you might not, because of the extra time here, the other questions might not fetch you that 8 marks or 6 marks, which you end up losing. So in a case where an ideal situation where you know the answers for everything, you should properly plan your time. It's another matter, suppose I don't even know the answer to the question, then you leave out that particular question and give the time for allocate the time for the remaining questions. But when you know all the questions, just because of lack of time, you should not end up leaving it. So 25 minutes max for each descriptive question, 40 minutes max for MCQs of case scenarios. Fine. If any doubts, please ask us. Then only we'll know that you are listening and you have understood what we are telling. Or in case you have any issues relating to anything, relating to time management, relating to exam, or relating to the questions which you're going to take up now, please put forth your queries. Let's make it more interactive.
Viraj Desai send a good morning wish. What about others? Please, ask questions so we can make this session more interesting and interactive. And it gives boost us also to explain more things. So good morning, Viraj Desai. Now we are going to take you through some of the RTP questions generally, which will revise certain concepts of your DTP.
Very important concepts which have also undergone change recently by the Finance Act 2022.
First case scenario, आप सबने कर ही लिया होगा RTP, but still we want you to answer the MCQs, right? So that आपका फिर से revise हो जाए. First, I will briefly explain the provisions. Then we are going to do the MCQs portion. So generally, what happens now in case of case scenario based questions, how you approach the case scenario based question in examination. Frankly speaking, मैं देखूंगी तो पहले मैं अगर केस सिनेरियो फर्स्ट मैंने पढ़ा, उसके बाद में मेरे को अपने आप से क्वेश्चंस फ्रेम करने की जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है, कि क्या क्वेश्चंस होंगे. आप जस्ट गो थ्रू, आपको 15 मिनट्स रीडिंग टाइम मिलता है, और उसके बाद में क्या होता है कि आप केस सिनेरियो को रीड करो केस सिनेरियो फटाफट से रीड करोगे, देन उसके बाद आपका क्वेश्चंस पढ़ लो जल्दी से. क्वेश्चंस को रीड करने के बाद आफ्टर रीडिंग ऑफ क्वेश्चन यू विल कम टू नो कि व्हाट प्रोविजंस आर आपका 15 minutes time is for descriptive portion, I suppose that is not given for your case scenario based question. So इसमें आपको रीडिंग टाइम तो नहीं है, बट स्टिल हाउ यू अप्रोच डिस्क्रिप्टिव पोर्शन का तो आपको पता चल गया कि आपको वट एवर क्वेश्चन यू फील कि आपको बहुत अच्छे से आते, यू नो द क्वेश्चन वेरी वेल, आप उसको पहले अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हो, बट क्लियरली मेंशन दी क्वेश्चन नंबर इन योर आंसर शीट and your all the parts of one question has to be in a line only, right? ऐसा नहीं होगा कि एक पार्ट इधर किया एक पार्ट इधर किया, इस तरीके से. In case you don't know the one of the part in a question, then just leave a space and move to your other question. So यहाँ पे केस सिनेरियो की बात कर रहे हैं. अभी हम केस सिनेरियोज में क्या होगा, फर्स्ट आपने केस सिनेरियो, यू जस्ट रीड द केस सिनेरियो, नो नीड टू फ्रेम क्वेश्चंस कि व्हाट टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस विल बी आस्क्ड, रीड द क्वेश्चंस देन एंड देयर. फटाफट से क्वेश्चंस पढ़ेंगे पहले, फिर from reading the question you will come to know कि what things, what provisions are being attracted to answer this question and what information is important in relation to this question in the case scenario. तो पहले ये this case scenario is based on your power of survey up to the income tax authorities and power to collect information. Section 130 your 130 section 133A power of survey और आपका सेक्शन, देखो मैं सेक्शन के बेसिस पे ओनली मैं आई कैन एक्सप्लेन दिस प्रोविजंस, राइट? तो एक बार सेक्शंस तो बहुत इंटीग्रल पार्ट ऑफ योर डायरेक्ट टैक्स लॉस, लेकिन रॉन्ग सेक्शंस मत कोट करना. अगर आपको नहीं याद है, यू डोंट रिमेंबर दिस सेक्शन, डोंट कोट द रॉन्ग सेक्शंस, राइट? In case you remember properly, then only you write the section numbers.
That is generally for descriptive she's telling about.
And of course. Then power to collect.
We haven't got any questions till now. I think if you post your questions, it will be make it more interactive. Okay, we'll expect questions after this case scenario.
So ये these things and section 147 also being attracted in this case scenario. तो इसमें क्या, फर्स्ट असेसिंग ऑफिसर विद द प्रायर अप्रूवल, लेट्स रीड द केस सिनेरियो फटाफट से. द असेसिंग ऑफिसर विद प्रायर अप्रूवल ऑफ चीफ कमिश्नर इनकम टैक्स सर्वेड द बिजनेस प्रोमाइसेस ऑफ ए लिमिटेड. ए लिमिटेड, यहाँ पे ए लिमिटेड आया फर्स्ट थिंग. ए लिमिटेड सर्वेड द प्रोमाइसेस ऑफ ए लिमिटेड विच वाज विद इन हिज jurisdiction at 9 p.m. The date is very important. The timing of entering into the building is important in case of power of survey and power to collect information. So he has entered at 9 p.m. Okay, on 1/6/22 for the purpose of obtaining information which may be relevant to the proceedings under the Income Tax Act. The survey operations continued till 11 p.m. Right? Then on 15/6/22 the assessing officer entered the business premises of B Limited. B Limited again the assessing officer entered for what purpose he entered here. He entered at 8:30 p.m. for collecting information. For what? For collecting information which may be useful for the purpose of Income Tax Act, and left the premises at 9:30 p.m. The business premises of A Limited is kept open for business every day. इसकी premises कब तक open रहती है? 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the business premises of B Limited is kept open for business from 9:30 to 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. ठीक है, तो ये आपका इंफॉर्मेशन आपकी थी सर्वे और power to collect information के basis पे. Then what next they are saying? They are saying assessing officer impounded and retained in his custody for a period of 12 days inclusive of holidays, books of accounts and other documents inspected by him after recording reasons for doing so. The assessing officer did not take the specific permission of chief commissioner. Then next para is saying in July 22 the business premise of C Limited, another entity, comes into picture, being searched after following due procedure under section 132, consequent to which assessing officer has in possession certain documents, information of shares valuing 28 lakhs purchased in the previous year 16-17 and shares of valuing 21 lakhs in the previous year 17-18. अब फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन क्या है, हम जल्दी से फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन पढ़ते हैं, उसके बाद हम करेंगे क्या है. इज द एक्शन ऑफ असेसिंग ऑफिसर इन एंटरिंग द बिजनेस प्रोमाइसेस ऑफ ए लिमिटेड एट 9 p.m. and continuing survey operation till 11 p.m. valid? Also is the action of assessing officer entering the business premises of B Limited at 30 p.m. valid? अब वैलिडिटी कैसे चेक होगी, अब देखते हैं हम सेक्शन 133 क्या कहता है. पावर टू सर्वे के केस में 133 सेज दैट द इनकम टैक्स अथॉरिटी कैन एंटर द बिजनेस प्रोमाइसेस ड्यूरिंग द बिजनेस आवर्स, right, during the office hours. So here what is happening, he has entered at 9 p.m. and the office hours of A Limited is 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So he entered in right time. So यहाँ पे entering time is there, but when the survey has to be completed, that time is not given, right? So he can continue his survey at any time, but he has to enter during the business hours of the person, right, for whom he is going to do the survey. So he has entered at the right time, 9 p.m. In case of B Limited, for what purpose the income tax authority has gone? They have gone for collecting the information. In case of information, so limited powers are there, right? Like in case of for collecting information also, the authority can enter only during the business hours. So here also the business hours from 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and the income tax authority entered at 8:30 p.m. So the action of assessing officer is valid in both the cases, right? So entering is first thing. In case of survey, with this time is, you have to very carefully keep in mind that he can enter during the business hours for survey, and for collecting information he can enter during the business hours. But in case of survey, some exception is there. If the income tax authority is entering for doing the survey for the purpose of TDS or TCS verification, this office hours will not is not the time. This is that after your sunrise and before your sunset, you have to enter the premises. In case of for the purpose of TDS or TCS only, right? Or here the powers are they can do it enter only after the sunrise and before the sunset. So this is the thing. In case of power to collect information, TDS TCS वाला ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. In case of power of survey के लिए only this thing is there कि TDS verification के लिए if you are entering the business premises, then the you can enter during the after the sunrise and before sunset time. Then next question is relating
So the answer first is the first one. No?
Right. Now you know that both the actions of the assessing officer entering the A Limited and the B Limited are valid. So accordingly, the answer A is correct. Yes, the action of assessing officer in both the cases is valid. Then in the second question, is the action of assessing officer in impounding and retaining books of accounts and other documents A Limited and B Limited after recording the reasons for doing so valid, where he had not taken specific permissions from Chief Commissioner for this action. In case of power of survey, impounding is permissible act. You can impound and retain the books of accounts, but up to 15 days without any approval. But if you are going beyond 15 days, this exclude the holiday period, right? So then you have to take the permissions of Principal Chief Commissioner, Commissioner, your Chief Commissioner or Commissioner, PDG, Principal Director General, these authorities are given. So whose permission you have to take for retaining the books beyond 15 days, that excludes the period of holidays. Here what is given in the case scenario, here we are saying that the assessing officer impounded and retained in his custody for a period of 12 days. In case of survey, the period of you have the permissible act that you are permitted to retain or impound the books of accounts. But in case of power to collect information, the income tax authority doesn't have the power to retain or impound the books of accounts also. So they cannot do even for a single day, right? Further, also note, keep in mind कि ये जो period है यहाँ पे it is for 12 days, which is inclusive of holidays. So it is of course less than your 15 days time period. So it is permissible. They can do without seeking the approval of the any higher authorities. But यहाँ पे in case of TDS again, if you are entering the premises for the purpose of doing survey and for the verification of TDS and TCS things, then you cannot impound or retain the books again, right? Of course, you can enter the premises for survey only after taking the approval of the higher authorities, but for retaining the books of accounts for another more than 15 days, then again you have to seek the permission, right? So you have to keep in mind power to collect of information. If the assessing officer is entering into, they do not have the power to retain the books of accounts. And for TDS purpose also, if you are entering the building for doing the survey, then also you cannot have the power to retain or impound the books of accounts, right? These are the things which are important. उस पे बेस पे कई बार क्वेश्चन आ जाता है, MCQs बेस्ड क्वेश्चन भी आ सकता है या आपका डिस्क्रिप्टिव बेस्ड क्वेश्चन भी आ सकता है. एनी टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन कैन बी आस्क्ड. सो इन क्वेश्चन नंबर सेकंड, व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन? दैट द एक्शन ऑफ असेसिंग ऑफिसर इन impounding and retaining books of accounts and other documents of A limited and B limited. A limited में the assessing officer entered for survey and B limited में for collection of information. So collection of information में he doesn't have the power to retain the books of accounts or impound, right? Information. So क्या options दिए हैं, हम एक बार options देखते हैं. Without, he has not taken the permission because the period is itself less than 15 days, so he need not to take the permission. If it is going beyond 15 days, then they have to take the permission, right? First option, no, the assessing, no, the action of assessing officer is not valid in both cases, A limited, B limited. B limited के केस में तो कर ही नहीं सकते थे, right? But A limited के केस में he can impound and he has impounded and retained for 12 days only, so he can do it. So yes, the action of assessing, then A option cannot be correct. In case of B, yes, the action of assessing officer is valid. In case of both A limited and B limited, no, this cannot not be correct option because he cannot do in case of B limited. Then C is the action of assessing officer is valid in case of A limited, of course, because he has retained the books for 12 days only and he need not to take the permission of higher authorities. While in case of B limited, he cannot. So the action is invalid. So the correct option is C. I am not getting any reply from the students. I want you to answer these questions before I am, explaining you or solving it. Please give your answers. And in case of any doubt, you can ask us.
It's okay even if you give the wrong answer. As I said, mistakes and all, you can make it. That will help you to learn also. It's okay. Don't need to worry that in case your answer will be wrong and all those things. We are just, that's why we are here to help you and guide you.
हाँ, हो सकता है आपने कर लिया हो, RTP आपने ऑलरेडी सॉल्व कर ली हो, बट आपके रीजनिंग के लिए आप यू लिसन दीज थिंग्स की वॉट एवर द रीजनिंग यू हैव अराइव्ड एट द आंसर, इज इट राइट और रॉन्ग, right? So those things again you are going to revise here. Before taking this third MCQ, which is based on section 147 to 1 for income escaping assessment, I want to take you to the fourth question. Fourth question में, would the action of the assessing officer in entering the business premises of A limited at 9 p.m. He had entered at 9 p.m. When he entered at 9 p.m. and impounding and retain the books be valid? Valid होगी क्या? कब? If he had surveyed A limited only for verifying whether tax has been deducted or not in accordance with the provisions. तब आपको बताना है 9 p.m. पे they entered. अब वहां पे टाइम क्या होता है एंटरिंग का इन केस ऑफ सर्वे? इफ इट इज फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ योर TDS और TCS के केस में आफ्टर सनराइज एंड बिफोर सनसेट. सो 9 PM पे दे कैन नॉट एंटर फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ डूइंग दिस TDS वेरिफिकेशन. ठीक है, इम्पाउंड भी नहीं कर सकते आपके बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स. दे कैन नॉट इम्पाउंड और रिटेन इन केस ऑफ TDS or TCS verification. So the options are yes, the action of assessing officer entering the premises and impounding retaining books of accounts valid? No, it cannot be. No, the action of the assessing officer entering premises at 9 PM and impounding and retaining books is not valid. Valid नहीं है. The action of assessing entering the premises at 9 PM is valid, but not the action of retaining. नहीं, कुछ नहीं कर सकता. Enter at sunrise or sunset से पहले नहीं, पहले ही करना है. So 9 PM पे he cannot. So this option is not correct. यहाँ पे फोर्थ ऑप्शन क्या, एक बार ऑप्शंस को बहुत ना ध्यान से पढ़ लेना चाहिए ये वाले क्वेश्चंस में. इसमें क्या होता है कहीं ना कहीं नॉट और नहीं लिखा या नॉट लिखा है, वहां पे मिस्टेक कर देते हैं हम, हरी भरी में पढ़ते हैं.
और when you read it, you know that not might not register.
हाँ, वो रजिस्टर नहीं होता. इसलिए मैं आपको एक बार बता रही हूँ, आपको सारे ऑप्शन ये वाले क्वेश्चन अच्छे से पढ़ लेने हैं. The action of assessing is entering in a business premises valid, but not the action of continuing the survey beyond 10 PM. ऐसे कोई मतलब क्लोजिंग का टाइम नहीं दिया एक्ट में, ओनली एंटरिंग बिजनेस प्रेमाइसेस दी है. सो द करेक्ट ऑप्शन वुड बी बी हियर. he cannot enter at 9 PM and impound the and retain the books of accounts. So these are the three questions
in case of TDS TCS.
हाँ, ये आपको ध्यान रखें.
Specifically for TDS TCS, a separate provision has given in 133A, which has restrictions. It doesn't allow you to impound, retain books of accounts. It doesn't allow the assessing officer to enter after sunset, before sunrise and after sunset, and not the normal business hours. Like in case of a normal survey question.
Yeah.
So the powers of the assessing officer are more restricted when it comes to survey for the purpose of verifying TDS, TCS. Otherwise, survey powers are broader than, that is 133A powers are broader than that of 133B.
Yes. So third question करेंगे, देखते हैं एक बार what is this third question. Third question is asking you, can the assessing officer issue notice under section 148 to A limited in August 22 in respect of assessment 2019-20, 2021, 2021 consequent to survey. देखिए आपको पता होगा कि आप सर्वे के केसेस में इन केस ऑफ सर्च, इन केस ऑफ सर्वे, योर सीजर एंड रिक्विजिशन के केस में your assessment also has to be done in under section 147 148, right? वहीं पे आपका assessment होगा. पहले search assessments अलग से होते थे, now it is in the income escaping assessment itself. तो यहाँ पे सर्वे के बाद में if the assessing officer has to do the assessment, then he has to follow the provisions of section 148 or 147 148. what are the time limits are being given, he has to comply before issuing the notice. तो अभी क्या है, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज दिस सेक्शन 140. जल्दी से एक बार रिवाइज कर लेते हैं. इनकम एस्केपिंग असेसमेंट में द असेसिंग ऑफिसर कैन इशू नोटिस, कैन असेस और रीअसेस द इनकम और रिकम्प्यूट द इनकम of the assessment year for which income has escaped assessment. जिसका इनकम एस्केप हो गया है, for that assessment year is known as relevant assessment year. एक assessment year का for which income being escaped, उसके लिए assessing officer can again do the assess or reassess the income. The assessing or may assess which has escaped assessment and can issue such issue comes to his notice subsequently. This is again very important. इसके बेस पे भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है आपका. देखिए यहाँ पे क्या कह रहे हैं, एक तो उसके पास कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन थी कि उसने इनकम एस्केप कर दिया, उसने ही हैज इशूड द नोटिस, लेकिन subsequently while doing the assessment something comes into his notice that be noticed subsequently in the course of proceedings that something being escaped assessment. उसके लिए भी he not to again comply with the 148A compliances, he can continue and do the your issue notice for those things also. ठीक है, अब आपका इसमें आया कर सकता है. इसमें सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, दिस चार्ट इज गिवन टू यू इन योर सप्लीमेंट्री स्टडी पेपर. ये बहुत अमेंडमेंट्स थे, सो होल ऑफ दिस सेक्शन इज कवर्ड इन योर सप्लीमेंट्री स्टडी पेपर रिलेटिंग टू दिस इनकम एस्केपिंग असेसमेंट. यहाँ पे व्हेन कैन नोटिस बीइंग इशूड फॉर मेकिंग असेसमेंट अंडर सेक्शन 147. इनकम किसी असेसमेंट ईयर का इफ इनकम इज एस्केप्ड, कब बोलोगे आप इनकम एस्केप हुई? यहाँ पे व्हेन यू आर गोइंग टू से दैट इनकम हैज बीन एस्केप्ड, when the AO is in possession of information which suggests that income has escaped assessment, right? Where the AO is deemed, यहाँ पे information में, but it is deemed कि he has deemed to have information suggesting income has escaped assessment. So certain cases are being given कि जहाँ पे AO माना जाए कि he is in possession of certain information which implies कि income has escaped assessment, and here deeming provisions are there. So certain information यहाँ पे दी हुई है आपको. These are second, third, fourth, fifth are the amendments actually being brought up. These are being newly added things. In these cases also the AO can issue notices if that since this information suggesting income has escaped assessment. These are earlier there. So search cases where search is initiated, आपने search करी, where the AO will be deemed to have information which suggests income escaped assessment. In case of search again, सर्वे के केस में 133 है जो कि हमने अभी डिस्कस किया, सर्वे किया वहां पे भी डीम्ड माना जाएगा. इट इज बीइंग डीम्ड दैट AO हैज इंफॉर्मेशन. And in case of in case books of accounts are being seized or requisition in case of the person or in case of other persons also, right? These are the three cases. These are the three cases: search, survey, and your seizure and requisition. In these three cases, the AO will be deemed to have information. यहाँ पे the compliances are different. In case of this information के case में, what is the next compliance? Can they issue notice directly? No. Here the assessing officer has to comply with the provision of section 148A. That means before issuing notice, he has to conduct the inquiry. कि आपका this is the inquiry he has to conduct with the prior approval of the specified authority. With the information, right, यहाँ पे करना पड़ेगा और अपॉर्चुनिटी देनी पड़ेगी. सो कोर्स नोटिस हैज टू बी इशूड टू द असेसी कि वाई आपके ऊपर क्यों ये असेसमेंट ना किया जाए. सो दैट अपॉर्चुनिटी हैज टू बी गिवन टू द असेसिंग असेसी एंड डिसाइड अकॉर्डिंगली कि यहाँ पे नोटिस कैन बी इशूड. डिसाइड बेस्ड ऑन द इंफॉर्मेशन whether or not it is a fit case to issue notice under section 148 by passing the order with the prior approval of the specified authority. यहाँ पे specified authority की approval यहाँ पे भी लेनी है, फिर again notice issue करने के टाइम पे लेनी है। यहाँ पे क्या कह रहे हैं हम, search के cases में और ये आपका सीजर और सीज इसके केस में you need not to comply with the section 148A. 148A compliances are not necessary, are not required to do in case of search और सीजर और रिक्विजिशन के केस में, बट सर्वे के केसेस में करना है, ठीक है। माइंडेड कि आपको सर्च के केसेस में यू नॉट टू डू, बट आपने सर्वे किया है, बेस्ड ऑन दैट यू वांट द असेसिंग ऑफिसर वांट टू डू द असेसमेंट, देन ही हैड टू कंप्लाई विद द कंडीशंस स्टिपुलेटेड अंडर सेक्शन 148A, दैट इज कंडक्ट इंक्वायरी, प्रोवाइड अपॉर्चुनिटी, एंड बेस्ड ऑन द रिप्लाई ही हैज टू डिसाइड with the approval of this specified authority that they can issue notice or not. So यहाँ पे नहीं लिखा हुआ है, इसमें नहीं करना है, ठीक है, ये आपको ध्यान रखना है। प्लस यहाँ पे ये आपने समझ में आ गया कहाँ पे असेसिंग ऑफिसर नोटिस इशू कर सकता है। यहाँ पे एक वन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग विच आई वांट टू एक्सप्लेन, दिस इज फोर्थ पॉइंट हियर, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग ना इन दिस केस, द AO is having information based on the faceless collection of information under section 135A. Here he need not to comply with 148A भी नहीं करना है इसको, और यहाँ पे इसको he need not to issue take the prior approval of specified authority. This is a new case जहाँ पे उसको ना तो compliances stipulated in section 148A has to be satisfied, or neither take the prior approval of specified authority. He can issue notice directly and do the assessment. This is one thing. यहाँ पे what is happening, यहाँ पे he need not to comply with the conditions under section 148A, but when he is going to issue the notice, that time he has to take the approval of the specified authority. फिर इसको approval लेनी ही होगी. In these cases prior approval of specified authority is required before issuing the notice. ठीक है, ये आपको ध्यान रखना है। इस पे क्वेश्चंस जनरली आ जाते हैं कि असेसिंग ऑफिसर ने इशू कर दिया नोटिस विदाउट कंप्लायंसेस, यही क्वेश्चन है आगे भी आपका। विदाउट कंप्लाइंग विद द सेक्शन 148A कैन डू इट, or without taking the prior approval of a specified authority can you do it, and then within the time limit, the notice आपको देखने की time limit क्या है। Again the time limit is very important. ये क्वेश्चन आपका इसी बेस्ड है। दिस थर्ड क्वेश्चन इज बेस्ड ऑन द टाइम लिमिट। रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर, पहले तो आपको पता होना चाहिए रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट क्या होगा। जो असेसमेंट ईयर उसके रिलेशन में कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन हो, आपको वहीं पे मान रहे हैं ना कि इनकम इज एस्केप्ड असेसमेंट, राइट। सो एक इन्फॉर्मेशन है, डीम टू हैव इन्फॉर्मेशन है। जिस असेसमेंट ईयर के रिलेशन में कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन होगी उसी के लिए हम इनकम एस्केपिंग असेसमेंट कर सकते हैं। तो यहाँ पे क्या टाइम लिमिट है, अप टू 3 years फ्रॉम द एंड ऑफ द रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर। कब तक कर सकते हैं, 3 years। इट कैन गो बियॉन्ड 3 years, बट इन पर्टिकुलर केसेस क्या है कि एओ के पास कुछ पोजीशन में इंफॉर्मेशन है विच सजेस्ट कि इनकम विच रिवील दैट द इनकम चार्जेबल टू टैक्स हैज एस्केप्ड असेसमेंट एंड दैट इनकम is amounts or likely to amount 50 lakh or more rupees। ठीक है, 50 लाख है उससे ज्यादा है, वो इनकम चार्जेबल टू टैक्स है विच इज एस्केप्ड असेसमेंट, ठीक है। और वो इट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एन असेट। असेट की डेफिनेशन आप बहुत अच्छे से देख लें, क्या क्या असेट की डेफिनेशन में इंक्लूडेड है। यहाँ पे इट्स ब्रॉडर, दे हैव ब्रॉडन दिस क्राइटेरिया ऑल्सो कि यहाँ पे क्या क्या असेट के अलावा दे हैव इंक्लूडेड दिस एक्सपेंडिचर ऑल्सो, एक्सपेंडिचर इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शन और इन रिलेशन टू एन इवेंट और ओकेजन, और एंट्री भी आपकी कोई बुक्स में कोई एंट्री आ रही है विच इज सेइंग कि इनकम चार्जेबल टू टैक्स हैज एस्केप्ड असेसमेंट एंड दैट एंट्री इज अराउंड 50 लाख और मोर है, तो वो आपका यहाँ पे कर सकते हैं बियॉन्ड 3 years जा सकते हैं, अप टू 10 years फ्रॉम द एंड ऑफ द रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर। अब हमें यहाँ पे रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर आपको पता चल कि उसके रिलेशन में कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन है, उसके लिए देखना है कि वहां से किस टाइम पे द नोटिस ही इज इशूइंग द नोटिस, उस टाइम से 3 years का टाइम है या नहीं है। अगर उसकी इंफॉर्मेशन 50 लाख और मोर नहीं है देन 10 years का टाइम है कि नहीं, आपको अकॉर्डिंगली यू हैव टू सी एंड कैलकुलेट द टाइमिंग। अब इस क्वेश्चन में क्या किया, व्हाट इज इन दिस क्वेश्चन, सर्वे कंडक्ट के ए लिमिटेड के केस में, और ही वांट्स टू इशू नोटिस। कब तक के लिए नोटिस इशू कर रहा है, AY 1920 के लिए करना चाहता है, 2021 के लिए, 21-22 के लिए, ये रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर्स हो गए, ठीक है। इसके पास कुछ है इंफॉर्मेशन। 1920 के लिए कब तक कर सकते हैं, 3 years, when the 3 years period will comes into end, this is 31/3/23, ठीक है। ये असेसमेंट 1920 से चले आप 2021, 22-22, 22-23 एंड दिस आपका क्या होगा, 20 से आपका गया 3 years फ्रॉम द एंड, हाँ 21-22 एंड 22-23। 3. सो 31/23 तक इसके लिए कर सकते थे. इसके लिए ऑफकोर्स जब इसके लिए कर सकते हो आगे वालों के लिए तो ही कैन डू विद इन 3 years. यहाँ पे कोई और इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है आपके पास कि 50 लाख है या नहीं है. 3 years के लिए कर सकते हो, आपको 10 years में जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है एक्चुअली. 3 years है अभी उसके पास, देन ही कैन इशू नोटिस फॉर ए लिमिटेड. सो क्या ऑप्शंस दिए हैं यहाँ पे? नो सिंस द सर्वे कंडक्टेड इटसेल्फ इज नॉट वैलिड. वैलिड था ए लिमिटेड के बिकॉज ही हैज एंटर्ड विद इन द टाइम लिमिट प्रिस्क्राइब्ड, सो द सर्वे वाज वैलिड ऑफ कोर्स. Yes, he can do. Compliance stipulated under section 148A are not necessary. क्या है ये केस? सर्वे का केस है. इट इज नॉट अ केस ऑफ सर्च. ठीक है, तो कंप्लाई करना पड़ेगा. तो ये भी आपका ऑप्शन गलत हो गया. Then yes, he can do after following the compliance stipulated under section 148A. These all are the relevant assessment year, जिसके लिए अभी अगस्त 22 में टाइम है उसके पास. तो he can do, but he has to comply with the he has to follow the compliances stipulated under section 148A. एक बार इसका डी ऑप्शन भी पढ़ लेते हैं क्या लिखा है. Yes, he can do so with the prior approval of the specified authority under section 151. Other compliances stipulated under section 148A are not necessary. यहाँ पे स्पेसिफाइड अथॉरिटी की अप्रूवल भी चाहिए और 148A भी चाहिए. तो यहाँ पे he has to comply with the 148A पहले करोगे, स्पेसिफाइड अथॉरिटी की अप्रूवल के बाद ही you are going to issue the notice. ठीक है, यहाँ पे आपका सी ऑप्शन इज करेक्ट. दिस इज द थर्ड क्वेश्चन जहां पे आपने देखा सर्वे का आपने समझ में आया, सर्वे के प्रोविजंस लगे. पहले आपको सर्वे बेस्ड था फर्स्ट 2 क्वेश्चंस, फिर उसके बाद में हम 147 148 पे मूव करके 148 में भी जाके आपने क्या क्या देखा, टाइम लिमिट्स आपने देखी यहाँ पे, प्लस आपकी कंप्लाइंसेस किस किस की देनी, बिफोर इशूइंग नोटिस आपको क्या क्या कंप्लाई करना है, ये सब चीज यू हैव चेक्ड इट. नाउ व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 वी हैव ऑलरेडी डन. There are another 2 questions which are based on 147 or 148 itself. Now, 5th question is, can the assessing officer issue notice under section 148?
Just one thing which I wanted to say relating to that survey, it is information is deemed to have escaped assessment. It's a deemed. So even if they have not specified as to, they've not given particular information as to this much amount has escaped assessment and all those things, it's deemed. In survey के case में, it's deemed to have escaped assessment. As per the chart.
हाँ, dealing में था ना सर्च के केस, सर्वे के.
So in fact, they have not given specifically, na, this asset was found, that asset was found, but even then it's deemed to have escaped assessment and the AO can issue.
हाँ, वो आपका
provided it's within the 3 year limit.
asset की केस का आपको definition they have to see for checking the
10
year time limit actually. So can the assessing officer issue notice under section 148 for bringing to income tax escaping assessment in case of C limited? आपकी C limited की information दी हुई है without following compliances stipulated under section 148A. क्या था C limited का एक बार देख लेते हैं. What is given in C limited? Search was conducted in case of C limited. ठीक है. In July 22, business premises of C limited was searched. Search का केस आ गया, deemed to have information मानेंगे. After following due procedure laid down on 132, and assessing officer in his possession certain documents. किस ईयर के लिए डॉक्यूमेंट्स है, कितना है, 28 लाख का शेयर्स हैं फॉर प्रीवियस ईयर 16-17 के, and another previous year 17-18 के he is having share of value of rupees 21 lakhs. It is coming to 49 lakhs. ठीक है. अब क्या है, असेस प्रीवियस ईयर लिखा है यहाँ पे व्हाट इज रिटन, प्रीवियस ईयर रिटन है. और आपको टाइम लिमिट्स कहाँ से देखनी है, रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर से देखनी है. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे 16-17 का रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर आपका क्या हो जाएगा, असेसमेंट ईयर 2017-18 49 लाख है. तो 3 years के बियॉन्ड तो ही कैन नॉट गो. आपको 3 years का ही देखना है. असेसमेंट ईयर 17-18 से आप कैसे देखोगे, 21 में खत्म हो जाएगा आपका. ठीक है, 31/3/21 में द टाइम लिमिट भी एंडेड. फिर नेक्स्ट है आपका 17-18 के लिए असेसमेंट ईयर क्या होगा, 2018-19. यहाँ पे टाइम लिमिट कब खत्म हो रही है, 31/3/22 में खत्म हो रही है. सर्च का केस है, ऑफ कोर्स ही कैन डू असेसमेंट. यहाँ पे आपको कंप्लाइंसेस की जरूरत नहीं है 148 की, बट 151 की अप्रूवल लेने की जरूरत है. 151 में स्पेसिफाइड अथॉरिटी की डेफिनेशन इज गिवन, दोस थिंग आर रिक्वायर्ड बिफोर इशूइंग नोटिस. 148 कंप्लाइंस इज नॉट नेसेसरी बिकॉज इट इज अ केस ऑफ सर्च. बट उससे पहले आपको ये देखना है कि ये टाइम है भी या नहीं है उसके पास इशू करने का.
टाइम हैज ऑलरेडी एक्सपायर्ड. हाँ, जिस केस इट्स ऑलरेडी
एक्सपायर्ड. आपका 49 lakhs का है, आपका 10 years के लिए जा ही नहीं सकते हो आप. तो यहाँ पे
because he's doing the thing in July 22. And this time limit has expired in 31/3/22 and
March में already the time expired. So in that case, यहाँ पे इसके पास he is not cannot issue notice itself. तो फर्स्ट ऑप्शन क्या लिखा है? यस ही कैन डू सो विद द प्रायर अप्रूवल इज स्पेसिफाइड. नो ही कैन नॉट. देन बी ऑप्शन, ही कैन नॉट डू सो. No, he can do so only after following compliance stipulated under section 148A. कर सकते हैं बट 148A की कंप्लाइंस के साथ, ये भी नहीं है. फिर सी ऑप्शन, नो ही कैन नॉट इश्यू नोटिस अंडर सेक्शन 148 सिंस द 3-year टाइम लिमिट फ्रॉम एंड ऑफ रिलेवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर हैज एक्सपायर्ड. देखो कितना क्लोज लग रहा है, लग रहा है कि अरे ये तो कर सकता है, हाँ ही कैन डू, बट आपने वहां पे टाइम लिमिट देखनी है. वहां पे टाइम लिमिट मतलब पहले ही बेस स्टार्ट ही नहीं कर सकता वो, अप्रूवल तो बाद में आएगा. ठीक है, तो ही कैन नॉट इश्यू नोटिस अंडर सेक्शन 148 सिंस 3 years टाइम लिमिट ऑलरेडी बीन एक्सपायर्ड. 6th क्वेश्चन भी आपका उसी बेस पे, यहाँ पे आपका अमाउंट इंक्रीज कर दिया है. यहाँ पे क्या बोला है? कैन द असेसिंग ऑफिसर इशू नोटिस अंडर सेक्शन 148 फॉर ब्रिंगिंग टू टैक्स इनकम एस्केपिंग असेसमेंट इन केस ऑफ सी लिमिटेड की बात कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे अगेन, विदाउट फॉलोइंग द कंप्लायंसेस स्टिपुलेटेड अंडर सेक्शन 148A इफ शेयर्स परचेज इन प्रीवियस 16-17 वर्थ 30 lakhs हो गए इंस्टेड ऑफ 28 lakhs. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे आपका 51 lakhs हो गया, 30 lakh प्लस योर अदर शेयर्स उसके इंक्लूड करके आपका अमाउंट
49 lakhs, now they've increased it by 2 lakhs, it's 51 lakhs.
तो यहाँ पे कर सकते हैं, he can do 10 years का टाइम लिमिट आ गया अब तो उसके पास में,
because it's more than 50 lakhs you get the extended time limit.
So he can do so, but compliances with without following 148A, but he has to take the approval before issuing notice of the specified authority prescribed under section 151. So the correct answer would be A. B ऑप्शन में आपको क्या लिखा है? नो ही कैन नॉट डू सो.
He can do
sorry, no he can do so only after following the compliances stipulated under section 148A. Wrong answer. No he cannot issue notice under section 148 since 3 years. यहाँ पे 3 years से beyond extended time limit available to the assessing officer, so he can do without complying with 148A, but he has to seek the approval of specified authority prescribed under section 151. डी ऑप्शन क्या बोल रहा है? नो ही कैन नॉट इश्यू नोटिस सिंस शेयर्स डू नॉट फॉल विद इन द डेफिनेशन मीनिंग ऑफ असेट. ये असेट की डेफिनेशन एक बार पढ़ लेना अच्छे से, क्या क्या शेयर क्या क्या क्लासीफाई करता है एसेट की डेफिनेशन. इंक्लूसिव डेफिनेशन ऑफ कोर्स, बट यहाँ पे देखोगे आपका एक्सपेंडिचर भी कवर है, आपकी एंट्रीज आर ऑल्सो कवर. ठीक है, सो सबका कंप्लाई करके एग्रीगेट करके आपको देखना है इनकम एक्सीड करिए कि नहीं करिए 50 lakhs की. ठीक है, दिस थिंग. सो दिस इज अबाउट योर दीज प्रोविजंस. नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू टेक द अनदर केस सिनेरियो.
Any doubts, students? Because it's actually it's a very combination of income tax authorities and assessment procedure. Any doubts you can ask us,
yeah.
We will explain to you. We want it to be more participative. It would be good if you all participate, if you give your answers. Viraj Desai.
Viraj Desai.
Because
I think you understood everything. Huh? You have your
not only him, all the other students also.
Everybody, I think.
Okay. Now let's go to the second case scenario. The second case scenario is basically on the provisions of cooperative society and cooperative bank, the deduction under ATP, availability of deduction under ATP, applicability of AMT. AMT rate has been reduced to 15% for cooperative societies, that one. And I mean, how the interplay comes of the provisions. So we are taking the case of 3 cooperative societies. The following are the details about Alpha Cooperative Society, Beta Cooperative Society, and Gamma Cooperative Bank. Now itself you should notice first 2 are cooperative societies, third one Gamma Cooperative Bank. Okay, for the previous year 22-23. Okay. Alpha Cooperative is engaged in providing credit facilities solely to its members, the profits and gains from which is 20 lakhs. It also derives interest of 3 lakhs from investments in another cooperative society. So these 2 are the activities. Beta Cooperative is engaged in marketing of agricultural produce grown by the members, profits and gains from which is 40 lakhs. Computed. The figures are given computed. So you need not go into computing the income figure. It has employed 8 new employees with a salary of 22,000 per month on 1/6/2022. Salary is paid by ECS through bank account. It gets the books of accounts audited under 44AB. Why is this information given? Anyone can tell? Employment of 8 new employees with salary of 22,000. salary is paid by ECS through bank account. Anyway, they've given the computed figure of profits and gains. What is the relevance of this information? I'm waiting for your answer. What is the relevance? They've already given the computed figure of profits and gains. Why should they give employment of new employees with a salary of so and so? What purpose is it for? I'm waiting for an answer. Why is it given? Already PGBP income has been computed. It gets its books of accounts audited under 44AB. That information is also already given. Very good. Ashish Rajwani, very good. It's for the purpose of 80JJA deduction. Yeah, I want you to be more interactive. Very good. It also earns interest of 12 lakhs on fixed deposits with Axis Bank and ICAI Bank. Just note the difference. In the first case for Alpha Cooperative Society, interest is derived from investments in Delta Cooperative Society, other cooperative society. In case of Beta Cooperative Society, interest is from FD with Axis Bank and ICICI Bank. Okay, so we know what is the difference in treatment. Gamma Cooperative is engaged in banking business in Bangalore. It's engaged in banking business. It's a cooperative bank that we've seen before. Banking business, and the profits from and gains of which is 110 lakhs. That is also a computed figure. It also gets its books of accounts audited under 44AB. It is not a primary agricultural credit society or primary cooperative agricultural and rural development bank. It is not a PACS or PACARD. Okay, these two are PACS or PACARD, but Gamma Cooperative Bank is not that. Okay, now what is the first question? First question is, what are they trying to test? Would Alpha Cooperative and Gamma Cooperative, they're talking about first and third, be entitled to deduction under ATP if they do not opt for 115 BAD. 115 BAD is the special provisions for a cooperative society. Okay, let me tell you, the 115 BAD is a special provision. Otherwise, under the normal provisions of the Act, a cooperative society carrying on specified activities is entitled for benefit of ATP, of the income from such activities. Those activities, what are all those activities? We have those. 1 minute. This is from your study mat only. It's all from your study material. See, this gives a list of Viraj, I hope in the course of this thing, if you pay careful attention, you open your study material also side by side, you will be able to relate the provisions there. In case you have any specific questions, you can ask us. Now, ATP. ATP is for a cooperative society. Deduction is available to a cooperative society engaged in particular businesses. This is the provision as contained in your material. Okay. So applicability, specified income of a cooperative society would be allowed. So 100% deduction shall be allowed in respect of profits and gains attributable to one or more of the following activities. Okay. This is carrying on the business of providing credit facilities to its members. So if a cooperative society is engaged in the business of providing credit facilities only to its members, then it is eligible for ATP. Okay. Then cottage industry, then marketing of agricultural produce grown by its members. These two are coming in a case scenario. That's why I'm specifically underlining credit facilities and marketing of agricultural produce. Apart from that, there are other things also. Purchase of agricultural implements for the intended for agriculture or for supplying them to members. Collective disposal of the labor to member, fishing and allied activity, processing without the aid of power agricultural produce. Basically, in our case scenario, we are talking about business of providing credit facility to its members and marketing of agricultural produce grown by its members. So in both these, for both these businesses, 100% deduction is allowed in respect of the profits and gains. Now we go further down. We will take only the relevant provisions here. Okay. The other relevant provision is deduction in respect of interest or dividend income. Any income arising to a cooperative society by way of interest and dividends derived from investments with any other cooperative society. So if a cooperative society invests in any other cooperative society, gets interest or dividend income, that is fully deductible. 100% is deductible under this section. Okay. Now, another important provision in this is that the benefit under section 80P has been withdrawn in respect of all cooperative banks other than primary agricultural cooperative societies and primary agricultural and rural development banks. So cooperative banks other than these two, PACS and PACAD, these two will be eligible in case of cooperative banks, but all other cooperative banks are not eligible for ATP reduction. So these are the provisions which you have to remember. Cooperative banks are not entitled except for Primary Agricultural Credit Society and PACAD. And as regards other cooperative societies which are engaged in carrying on the business of providing credit facilities to its members or marketing agricultural produce grown by its members, these and as well as the other activities mentioned, they are eligible for 100% deduction. And if you made investments in any other cooperative society and earned income, if one cooperative society invests in another cooperative society, earns interest and dividend, that interest or dividend income is also qualifies for deduction under ATP. So these are the relevant provisions. Now let us go to the question. So here it's given alpha. I am talking about the regular provisions of the Act. ATP is allowable when you follow the regular provisions of the Act. When you opt for the special provisions under 115 BAD, special scheme under 115 BAD is where you get a rate of 22% plus surcharge at 10%, taxable rate, tax rate at 22%, plus surcharge at 10%, plus cess at 4%, 25.168%. If you have to get that special rate on your income, then you have to forego certain deductions, and ATP is a deduction. Deduction under Chapter 6A, under C, deduction in respect of certain income. ATP is not allowable. However, for 115 BAD, 80 JJAA is allowable. Always if you see BAA, BAB, BACA, 115 JJAA allowance for employment of new employees, that is always allowable even under the special regime. But ATP deduction is not available for such cooperative societies. Now, the first question talks about a case where they don't opt for ATP. Now, and they are telling, will alpha cooperative and gamma cooperative be entitled to reduction? Alpha cooperative is engaged in providing credit facilities solely to its members. That we saw was an activity listed in ATP 2. So it's eligible. Gamma cooperative is engaged in banking business. Okay, and it's also not a primary agricultural credit society or a primary agricultural, primary cooperative agricultural and rural development bank. In this case, it will not be eligible, not eligible for ATP because it's a bank. Okay, now what happened? One case came up before the Supreme Court. It is reported in your judicial update also, where the department argued that even providing credit facilities to the members, that is also banking business. So if a cooperative society is engaged in providing credit facilities to the members, that also constitutes banking business, and so deduction must be denied. But Supreme Court did not agree. So Supreme Court said there is a big difference between providing credit facilities. Cooperative societies engaged in providing credit facilities for its members, which is a permissible activity, and there's no denial even in ATP for that. And a cooperative bank engaged in banking business, and where it's rendering services not only to its members, to its others also. So there is a difference between these two. Whereas in the first case, for a rendering cooperative society which is providing credit facilities only to its members, for that it is eligible for ATP, whereas a banking business, cooperative society bank which carries on banking business, that is not eligible as mentioned in the section 80P4 itself. So it is clearly distinguished. If you are providing credit facilities solely to your members, then it's a permissible activity under ATP2, and so it is eligible for deduction under ATP. This is there in your judicial update. Otherwise, there was no confusion relating to that. But this issue came up right up to the Supreme Court. So it is clarified, or Supreme Court has also clarified, for credit facilities to its members, the cooperative society will be eligible. So Alpha Cooperative has what other income? It derives interest income of 3 lakhs from investments in Delta Cooperative Society. So it is invested in another cooperative society, derived income of interest of 3 lakhs. That is also eligible for ATP, as we've seen. If you derive interest or dividend income by investing in another cooperative society, that will also be eligible. So Alpha Cooperative Society will be eligible for deduction under ATP in respect of 20 plus 3, 23 lakh. Whereas Gamma Cooperative Bank is engaged in banking business, it will not be eligible for deduction in respect of its profits and gains. So which is the correct answer here? So correct answer will be Alpha Cooperative is entitled to deduction under ATP, both in respect of PGBP and interest of 3 lakhs. First statement is right, but what is the second statement here? Gamma Cooperative is entitled to deduction under ATP. No, it is not entitled. It's a bank. It's not entitled. So seconds, even though the first statement might be right. So you might, if you read the first statement, you will think it is right and you might proceed to tick it, but read the whole thing. Second part of the statement is wrong. Now, the entire statement or as a whole should be right. Gamma Cooperative is entitled to deduction under ATP in respect of profits and gains. This is the wrong answer. So the correct answer is Alpha Cooperative is entitled to deduction under ATP, both in respect of profits and gains of 20 lakhs and interest of 3 lakhs. Gamma Cooperative is not entitled to deduction under ATP. So fourth part, D is the correct answer because both the statements there are correct. Whereas in C option, first statement is right, second statement is wrong. In the other two, of course, the statements, they are telling only in respect of interest you are getting, not in respect of 20 lakhs. That again is wrong. Cooperative is entitled to deduction only in respect of profits and gains of 20 lakhs and not in respect of interest of 3 lakhs. That also is wrong. Alpha Cooperative is entitled to deduction in respect of 20 plus 3 lakhs. And Gamma is not entitled to deduction. So that is coming out clearly only in option D. I hope this is clear, all of you. Ashish, Viraj. Viraj, I'm surprised you're telling this. The recorded lectures will be available. Plus, there were 5 amendment lectures also. We will check it once more anyway that you have asked. But the recorded lectures for May will be applicable for November and it is available. Anyway, we'll have it checked once again. Let's go to the next question. I hope this question is clear. Viraj, Ashish. What about the others? I want it to be more participative. Would the provisions of AMT be attracted in the case of Alpha Cooperative, Beta Cooperative and Gamma Cooperative if they do not opt for 115 BAD? Okay. So AMT provisions. AMT provisions is when AMT provisions, what will happen if you compute the adjusted total income and compute the alternate minimum tax. But however, though AMT provisions are applicable where a cooperative society will claim deduction under any provision of deduction under Chapter 6A, C, deduction in respect of certain incomes. But however, ATP is specifically exempted from AMT. So a cooperative society, if it has claimed only ATP benefit, then AMT you need not calculate. If it has claimed only ATP deduction, because ATP is specifically exempt for AMT purposes. Okay. Whereas in 115 BAD, when you go to special provisions, ATJJ deduction is available, but not ATP deduction. But in case of AMT, a cooperative society claiming deduction only under ATP, AMT will not apply to it. Okay. So Alpha Cooperative Society is claiming deduction only under ATP. So AMT will not be applied to Alpha Cooperative Society because both the income, only ATP is applicable. Beta Cooperative also has marketing of agricultural produce from its members. That is also eligible for ATP. 80JJA benefit, AMT will be applicable in respect of beta cooperative. For ATP, it won't be applicable, but because you're claiming 80JJA deduction, it will be applicable. Gamma cooperative, it's engaged in banking business, so it is not eligible for ATP. No information is given relating to 80JJA. So here also there is no AMT. So AMT will be applicable only for beta cooperative, and that too because it is claiming 80JJA. For ATP, there is no AMT. Ashish has said he understood. Thanks, Ashish. I hope others have also understood. Would prefer your replies. So would the provisions of AMT be attractive in the case of alpha, beta and gamma? What did we say if they don't opt for BAD? It will not be applicable for alpha because alpha is claiming only ATP. It will be applicable for beta because beta is claiming 80JJA also in addition to ATP. Gamma is neither claiming ATP or not 80JJA, so it will not be applicable for gamma. It's applicable only for beta. So the option D is correct. AMT provisions will be attracted only in the case of beta co-op. I hope this is clear. Why? Because beta co-op is claiming 80JJA. That's why. If you're claiming only ATP, AMT will not be applicable. Okay. Now, let's come to third question. What would be the tax liability rounded off of beta cooperative if it opts for 115 BAD? It may be assumed that the gross total income is the same under the normal provisions of the Act and 115 BAD. This information is given because many other deductions are also denied when you opt for 115 BAD. But in this case, for simplicity's sake, the statement is given. You assume that GTI is the same, gross total income. Okay. So now we will compute the tax liability of beta cooperative if it opts for 115 BAD. Let me go up. Okay. Okay. Now beta cooperative, 115 BAD. So what is its income? 40 lakhs. Okay. Now, and what is the other income? It also earns 12 lakhs and FD with Axis Bank and ICAI Bank. Okay, so it's 52 lakhs. You're claiming 115 BAD. In 115 BAD, what deduction is allowable? 115 BAD, when you compute, it's a special provision, special regime. In special regime, the only deduction which is allowable will be 80JJA. ATP is not allowable in the special regime. It is allowable in the general regime. When you follow the normal provisions of the Act. If you want to opt for 115 BAD, ATP deduction will not be allowed. So it will be eligible only for 80JJA. How do you go about computing? 80JJA conditions are satisfied. 8 new employees, salary of 22,000 per month. It's subject to audit also. No? It's getting its books of accounts audited. It has been employed for more than 240 days in a year. So 8 into 22,000 into 10 months because they were employed only on 1/6/2020. So 22,000 into 8 employees into 10. So 2,20,000 into 8. So that will give you 17,60,000. This is the total salary. But only 30% deduction is allowable under 80JJA. So if you do 30%, it will come to 5,28,000. So the deduction which you will get is 5,28,000, being 30% of 17,60,000. Okay. So 52 lakh minus 5,28,000 will give you 46,72,000. Okay. So this is the total income as per 115 BAD. I will not get deduction under ATP for 40 lakhs, which I will get under the normal provisions of the Act. I matlab the beta cooperative society. Okay. Now 46,72,000. Now I have for 115 BAD, what is my rate of tax? It's 22%. 22% plus surcharge at 10% plus cess at 4%. So 22 into 1.1 into 1.04, that will be 25.168. This you have to know because it's the same as 115 BAA for companies also. It's the same thing. 22 plus 10% surcharge flat irrespective of the total income. That surcharge is irrespective of the total income. Okay. So 25.168% I should apply on 46,72,000. So then I will get 11,75,849. So if you round off, it will be 11,75,850. Let us go and see if this option is there. Yes, it is there. Option D, 11,75,850. So what you have to remember, beta cooperative is entitled under the normal provisions of the Act, it will be entitled for ATP and ATJJA. Okay? ATP in respect of business profits, not in respect of interest with Axis Bank and ICICI Bank. There's no deduction under ATP for interest with on deposits with other banks. Only if it's with a cooperative society, if you're getting interest or dividend, it will be exempt. Okay, so but you will get 115 BAD, you will get 80 JJA benefit. So that benefit you will have to provide, and then you have to compute the total income, because they say GTI is the same, so you can take the GTI figure as the same, and then you have to go about computing, providing deduction. Then under the normal provisions of the Act, you would have got ATP also. Here you get only 80 JJA because it's 115 BAD. Whatever income you get, 25.168% you will have to apply, because surcharge is a flat rate of 10% here. I hope this is clear. Ashish, Manisha. Manisha, the weightage for international taxation, new syllabus. New syllabus you're asking, Manisha. Manisha, this is for November 23. November 23 May, it's for 30 marks, it's fixed. In your new syllabus, there's no fixed marks, but more or less around 30 to 35% it will be in your new syllabus. Around that. That we will intimate you in due course of time, but yeah, it will be around this range only. Okay, is this clear? Whatever I've said so far, Ashish, Manisha, Viraj. Okay, now come to what is the tax liability of beta co-op if it does not opt for 115 BAD. AMT provisions, if applicable, have to be considered. So they're telling you have to consider the AMT provisions, but it is not opting for 115 BAD. When you opt for 115 BAD, automatically AMT will not apply. I suppose that is clear to all of you. When you opt for a special tax regime where you are taxed at 25.168, AMT will not apply. You don't even need to check whether it is fulfilling the conditions. But if you opt for the normal provisions, you have to see whether AMT applies. In case of beta limited, AMT will apply, because it has claimed deduction under ATJJA. That too, if the cooperative society is claiming only ATP, there's no question of AMT. But apart from ATP, if you're claiming some other deduction under deduction in respect of certain income, in this case, they are claiming ATJJA. In such a case, what will happen then? You will have to compute AMT also. So in this case, we have to compute AMT also. Okay, so I need not rub off the whole thing. No? It's 40 lakh. 12 lakh, 52 lakh will remain same, 46 lakh 72, and I will get an additional deduction. I will get an additional deduction here. This was the computation which we made. So 52 lakh we had, we deducted 5,28,080 JJA, and we should deduct, we got 46 lakh 72,000. We have to deduct ATP 40 lakh. Because it's from marketing agricultural produce grown by its members. Now we are computing under the normal provisions of the Act, so this will be available. So 6,72,000 is your income. Fine. Now what will be the tax liability for this? 6,72 is after providing ATP, ATJJA under the normal provision. Cooperative society with the first slab rates will apply for the first 10,000 income. It's 10%, which will amount to 1,000. Okay. And for the 10,000 to 20,000, another 10,000, it will be 20%, which will amount to 2,000. Balance income. So minus 20,000 from that 6,52,000 it will come to. If I minus 20,000, I'll get 6,52,000 into 30%. 6,52,000 into 30% will be 195,600 plus 3,000, it will be 198,600 plus cess at 4%. Here there's no surcharge because the income is very less. Into 4% will be 7,944. So 206,540. 206,540 is under the normal provisions of the Act. Fine. This computation is there. This is also one of your options. But now I have to compute AMT. Na? AMT I have to compute and see, because if my alternate minimum tax is higher, then I'll have to take that. For AMT computation, what will I do? My 6,72,000. What should I add back for computing AMT? ATP is not subject to AMT. So what I have to add? ATJJA deduction. I have to add to 6,72,000. I have to add the ATJJA deduction allowance because ATP does not affect your AMT computation. So 6,72,000 is my total income. Okay. Okay, I'll write it here. Total income we saw was 6,72,000. But when I compute my AMT for adjusted total income, I have to add back my ATJJA deduction, which is 5,28,000. I think so. That's what we computed, na? 5,28,000. Let's just check. Yeah, 5,28,000. That I have to add it back. I hope you're getting why we are adding back only 5,28,000. 6,72,000 plus 5,28,000 comes to 12 lakh. I hope that is clear. 12 lakh. Why we are adding only ATJJA? Because ATP, as I said, will not be subject to AMT. So you have to add back only ATJJA deduction, which will come to 12 lakh. Now, what percentage I have to apply now for computing AMT? This is the adjusted total income. This is my adjusted total income, beta limited. So 12 lakh into 15%. It has been reduced for cooperative societies from 18.5 to 15%. So 12 lakh into 15% will give me 1,80,000. Plus 4% cess will be 7,200. So it's 187,200. My AMT. What is happening in this case? My AMT figure is alternate minimum tax is 187,200, and my normal provisions, whatever I have computed, will be 206,540. When I round it off, it is 206,540. So my AMT happens to be, AMT is applicable, definitely it's applicable, but when it's lower than my regular income tax payable, then my regular tax payable will be my tax liability. If AMT is higher, then I have to consider that. But since AMT is lower, my figure will be 206,540. I hope this is clear. Ashish, you're right. You're correct. Yeah. But now, Ashish, when 206,544 is the tax liability, AMT liability is lower. So we have to consider the provisions as per the regular provisions of the Act. Very good. Yeah. Now the next question is, so the correct, what is the tax liability rounded off will be the higher of the tax computed under the normal provisions of the Act and the AMT. In this case, AMT is 187,200, tax computed under the regular provisions of the Act is 206,540. So the higher of the two will be applicable. And when you are computing AMT, you simply have to add back ATJJA deduction, because ATP you need not add back. It is exempt from applicability of AMT. I hope this point is clear. Remember in chapter 6A deductions under C deduction in respect of certain incomes which has to be added back for computing adjusted total income, the only thing which is excluded is ATP. No other deduction is excluded. Just keep this in your mind. So it will affect only cooperative societies basically. Apart from chapter 6A deductions, 10A will attract AMT, 35AD will attract AMT. This I suppose all of you know, but point to be noted is ATP does not attract AMT. So if a cooperative society is claiming only ATP, AMT will not be there. In case of beta cooperative society, since it is claiming ATJJA, we have to compute AMT. But AMT is lower than the regular provision, so we take the tax liability as per the regular provisions. Okay. Final question is, would it be beneficial for alpha, beta and gamma cooperative to opt for 115 BAD? It may be assumed that the gross total income is the same under the normal provisions of the Act and section 115 BAD in all cases. See, for beta, we already have the answer. We have 115 BAD liability. It is, upper we've computed na 1175,850 and normal liability is 206,540. So which is more beneficial? 206,540, that it should not opt for 115 BAD. Why is it so? Because ATP deduction is not available when you compute 115 BAD. That is why in regular normal provisions of the Act will be more beneficial for it as compared to 115 BAD. 115 BAD, it is eligible only for ATJJA, whereas in the normal provisions of the Act, it's eligible for ATP deduction. So that's why this is more beneficial. So beta ke liye we already have the answer. Would it be beneficial for it to opt for beta ke liye? It's no. Let's see for alpha. I've made the computation in that, so I'll take you to that computation sheet. Pardon me?
Excel sheet he is downloaded.
Oh. Chalo, it's okay. I will do the computation. It's okay. It's not going to take much time to do the computation. What happened? So now we've seen beta ke liye it's not beneficial, alpha ke liye. Alpha, what is the benefit it is having? 20 plus 3 lakhs. 23 lakhs alpha ka income. Entire income is exempt under ATP. So under the regular provisions of the Act, the total income is nil. 23 lakhs is your income and 23 lakhs I'm getting the ATP deduction also. So my tax liability is nil under the normal provisions of the Act. When I do this one, 115 BAD, I don't get ATP deduction. So the entire 23 lakhs will be subject to tax at 25.168% if I opt for 115 BAD. Obviously for alpha, it should not opt because otherwise my tax liability is nil. Even my if I'm engaged in the business of providing credit facilities, that qualifies for ATP. And I'm getting interest of 3 lakhs from investments in Delta Cooperative Society, that also qualifies for ATP. Entire 23 lakhs is exempt under ATP. My total income is nil, my tax liability is nil under the normal provisions. If I have to go for 115 BAD, then I don't get the benefit of ATP. So my entire income of 23 lakhs would be subject to tax at 25.168. So I should not be. Alpha Limited also should not. Beta Limited, from our computations itself, we see there's so much of difference in tax liability. Beta Limited also should not. Basically because both these alpha and beta are entitled for deduction under ATP. So it is more beneficial. Normal provisions of the Act will be more beneficial. Coming to gamma cooperative. Now you come to gamma cooperative. Gamma cooperative profits and gains is 110 lakhs. It is not entitled to deduction under ATP. Here it will make a difference. Okay. Gamma ke liye 110 lakhs. Under the normal provisions of the Act, as I told you, 1,000 plus 2,000 for the first 20,000. Okay, then for 0 to 10,000, it's 10%, 1,000. 10 to 20,000, it's 20%, it's 2,000. So the balance is 110 lakh minus 20,000. So balance is 1098 0, 0, 0, 0. It's like this. This will be taxable at 30%. So into 30% will give me 329, 32,94,000 plus 3,000, 97,000. Okay. And now it's a normal provisions of the Act I'm computing. That's why I'm applying slab rate. But the income goes above 1 crore. So I have to apply when income is about 1 crore. My surcharge rate will be 7% because it's 110 lakh. Okay. So I apply 7% surcharge. So I get 230,790. Fine. So 32,97,000 plus 230. So it is 35,27,790. Plus I have to, there is a cess of 4%. Okay. So
141, 112.
into 4%, that is 141, 111. Sorry if it's a bit messy, but what basically you have to do, you have to apply the slab rate. And that comes to around 3527,
3668.
3668,902. Okay. Gamma Cooperative Bank may, when I apply the normals, Gamma Cooperative Bank is not entitled for ATP deduction. So the entire income of 110 lakhs, applying the slab rates, 10 up to 10,000 it's 10%, 10 to 20,000 it's 20%, beyond 20,000 it is 30%. Then I apply these slab rates, and over and above that I have to compute the 7% surcharge and the 4% cess. I get 36.68 as the tax liability under the normal provisions of the Act. Okay. Now, because the question it's been clarified, gross total income is the same under the normal provisions and under 115 BAD. Sometimes there might be a change because of non-eligibility of certain deductions under 115 BAD. But in this question, since they've clarified, the same 110 lakhs I have to take for the purpose of computing my 115 BAD liability also. So I'll say 110 lakhs into 25.168% for BAD liability. So I'll get 110 lakhs into 25.68%. Here I will get my answers 28.25 lakhs. Because this includes 25.168 includes surcharge at 10% and cess at 4%. So 28.25 lakhs. Whereas here I got 36.68 lakhs normal provisions. Whereas under BAD I got only 28.25 lakhs. Here my BAD liability is lesser. Why is it lesser? Because Gamma Cooperative Bank is not eligible for ATP. That is why 115 BAD liability happens to be lower than the liability as per the normal provisions of the Act. So for Gamma alone, it is beneficial to opt for 115 BAD. It is lower than your liability under the normal provisions of the Act.
This is 27,68,480.
Acha, 110 lakhs into 25. I think I made some mistake in the current. 110 lakhs into 25.168%. Sorry, this is 27.68 lakhs. Okay. Any case, this is much lower than that liability. I hope this part of it is very clear. Ultimately, what is happening here? Would it be beneficial for alpha, beta, gamma to opt for 115 BAD? It may be assumed that the gross total income is the same under the normal provisions. So for alpha, we've seen otherwise entire income was exempt under ATP, allowable as deduction under ATP. Whereas for 115 BAD, the entire 23 lakhs would have been subject to tax at 25.168. So it's not beneficial. For beta, from a computation itself, we can make out that under 115 BAD, it had to pay 11,75,000. Otherwise, normal provisions, it had to pay only 2 lakh. So beta also should not opt for. Gamma should opt for. Because why? Gamma does not get deduction under ATP. Being a cooperative bank, it is not entitled for deduction under ATP. Therefore, 115 BAD provisions are more beneficial to it because the tax rate is more beneficial. Fine. So the answer is, it would be beneficial for Gamma to opt for 115 BAD, but not for alpha and beta. D is the correct answer. I hope everyone has understood. Mansha, Ashish, you're giving the correct answers. Very good. Viraj, you've written that you've studied only up to capital gains, but I've explained the provisions also side by side. So I hope you've understood. Everyone, Prasad, Mansha, Ashish, everyone, I hope you've understood these provisions.
Yeah. May I know from you from which date this section is being inserted, is effective from? 190. Please tell me from which date this section is being affected. Mansha, Ashish, section 194R. This question is based on section 194R, newly inserted section for TDS to be deducted on the perquisites or benefits provided to a resident.
Aparna, 1 second. Actually, Ashish, I just noticed that you have asked a question about 111A. What is there? Will there be any rate of what will be the rate of tax? 111A normally it's chargeable to tax at 15%. I think you're particularly asking with relation to 115 BAD. Okay, so 115 BAD also forms. Let me explain you the rationale. It is forming part of Chapter 12 of the Income Tax Act, and that provision is subject to the provisions of this chapter. So, and 111A, 112 are all part of Chapter 12. So when it's subject to the provisions of Chapter 12, then the special rates will apply in case they have any special income. So in case they have a short-term capital gains which is chargeable to tax under 111A, that special provision will apply in such.
So, Ashish, answer me from which date this.
Ashish, I hope it's clear.
Yeah, 111A. But surcharge rate is 10% still, in that case. BAD. Surcharge you have to be careful. Because
Surcharge rates
22% में आपने other incomes total income करा, but excluding this short-term capital gain and section high level 15% apply करोगे, but total overall 10% surcharge.
Surcharge, yeah.
In every case.
Surcharge rate will be 10% whenever 115 BAD is applicable.
Yes. So Abhi, I have asked you a question from which date this section be inserted. It's make a difference actually. उससे पहले भी, because in between it is being inserted not from 1st April, but from which date it is being inserted? 194R. See, section 194.
Ashish has given an answer.
From 17. Very good, Ashish. I think you have studied well. And you know what difference it is going to make. From 17, whatever be the perquisites or benefits being provided by a person to a resident person, right? From before this date will not are subjected to TDS under section 194R. But for computing the threshold limit, you have to include the whole years. Whole year you have to compute this 20,000 ke liye, you have to include that figure. But the benefits which we have provided prior to this date, with effect from 1/7/22, are not subjected to TDS, right? So this date you have to keep in mind. So in this case, basically this question is based on the guidelines being issued for section 194R. You know that 194R, under section 194R, TDS is required to be deducted by a person who is providing any benefit or perquisite, to a resident person arising from business or exercise of profession, right, at the rate of 10% of the value or aggregate of the value of these perquisites. Where the provisions will not be attracted, in case where the perquisite value does not exceed 20,000, मतलब उसके ऊपर जाएगा, then whole soul पे you have to deduct the TDS at the rate 10%, but up to 20,000 you need not to deduct. Or where a person responsible, the person who is providing this benefit or perquisite is a HUF or an individual, and whose total sales or gross receipt does not exceed 1 crore or 50 lakh, but in which year? Previous year, मैंने यहाँ पे देखना है ड्यूरिंग द फाइनेंशियल इमीडिएटली प्रीसीडिंग द प्रीवियस फाइनेंशियल इन विच द बेनिफिट ऑफ परक्विजिट इज बीइंग प्रोवाइडेड, मतलब उससे पहले वाले साल में जाकर देखना है, नॉट द करेंट प्रीवियस ईयर, राइट. Then certain guidelines being issued by CBDT to clarify certain issues which are going to arise from this section 194R. CBDT come out with the guidelines by circular number 1222 dated 16/6 and another circular on this circular number 1822. So this circular or this section is covered in a supplementary study paper. From this, one of the question is with relation to whether the TDS provisions are attracted in respect of dealer conference, because businesses are conducting conferences also for the benefit of providing the information about the products, new product being launched in the market, key, right? So for certain conferences are being conducted, so it is in the form of a benefit. And in addition to certain conferences or dealer conferences, what happens now, the dealers are invited and they are providing hotels, they are providing fare for airfare, and along with that family members are also invited to these conferences. So what is happening, this is constitute a benefit of benefits on the part of the invitees. So उस case में whether the TDS provision would be attracted in respect of this, what question number 8 says, they are saying expenditure pertaining to dealer or business conferences would not be considered as benefit or perquisite in case where conferences is held with the prime object to educate the dealer or customers about the प्रोडक्ट के बारे में आप बता रहे हो, तो वो एक्सपेंडिचर उसके रिलेशन में आपने एक्सपेंड किया, वो आपका कंस्टिट्यूट नहीं करेगा बेनिफिट ऑफ पर्पस फॉर दिस 194R. ठीक है, यहाँ पे क्या चीज देन फिर व्हाट विल बी इंक्लूडेड इन दिस एक्सपेंडिचर, इट विल बी हाउएवर such conferences must not be in the, मतलब कोई स्पेसिफिकली आपने एक पर्टिकुलर सिलेक्टेड कस्टमर्स या डीलर्स को बुलाया एंड यू आर कंडक्टिंग एंड स्पेंडिंग द एक्सपेंडिचर, देन विल नॉट बी qualify for this exemption. यहाँ पे this is further in the following cases, कहाँ पे आपके expenditure will tend amount to benefit or perquisite for the purpose of this section 194R. यहाँ पे ये मैटर नहीं करेगा whether it is taxable in the hands of the customer or the dealer who are attending the conferencing or not, but TDS has to be attracted irrespective of the fact the taxability in the hands of the recipient. राइट, यहाँ पे ये नहीं देखना, हमें बस यहाँ पे देखना है कि एक्सपेंडिचर है वो क्वालिफाई एज अ बेनिफिट और नॉट फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ सेक्शन 194R ओनली, वही देखना है जो द पर्सन हु इज प्रोवाइडिंग दीज बेनिफिट्स. यहाँ पे क्या वर्ड दिस इज सेइंग, एक्सपेंडिचर फॉर लेजर ट्रिप और लेजर कंपोनेंट इफ इंसिडेंटल टू दैट डीलर ऑफ बिजनेस कॉन्फ्रेंस. आपने कुछ लेजर ट्रिप प्रोवाइड करी अलॉन्ग विद दैट मेन कॉन्फ्रेंस के अलावा, आपने 2 दिन पहले बुला लिया, 2 दिन बाद भेजा, वीकेंड्स थे एंड यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग सम एक्स्ट्रा बेनिफिट प्रोवाइडिंग लेजर ट्रिप, तो उसके पे जो एक्सपेंडिचर करोगे फॉर द इनवाइटी और द फैमिली मेंबर हैज टू बी इंक्लूडेड फॉर दिस 194R TDS. इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, देन फॉर फैमिली मेंबर्स पे, अगर कोई फैमिली मेंबर आप उस कस्टमर को या डीलर को अकम्पनी कर रहा है, इन रिस्पेक्ट दैट फैमिली मेंबर यू आर स्पेंडिंग द एक्सपेंडिचर, चाहे आपको एयरफेयर हो, चाहे होटल के चार्जेस हो, एनीथिंग, या ऑन द डेट ऑफ सेम कॉन्फ्रेंस की डेट में हो, कोई भी एक्सपेंडिचर आपने उस फैमिली मेंबर के लिए किया है, दैट विल बी कम इनटू दिस विद इन द purview of section 194R. देन एक्सपेंडिचर ऑन पार्टिसिपेंट, जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं उस पे फॉर द बिजनेस कॉन्फ्रेंसेस फॉर डेज विच आर ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ प्रायर स्टे, मतलब आपकी कॉन्फ्रेंस फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन दिस केस में आपका 21 या 22 को है, उससे पहले 19 या 20 को आ गया वो पर्सन, दैट पर्सन कम्स हियर एंड यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग दी होटल एक्सपेंडिचर, यू आर स्पेंडिंग ऑन दी डाइनिंग एंड ऑल, सो ऑन दैट केस क्या होगा, एक दिन पहले का वो एक्सक्लूड कर देंगे, बट उससे बियॉन्ड अगर वो रह रहा है एक दिन पहले के, दे आर एक्सक्लूडिंग दैट पीरियड, और जब कॉन्फ्रेंस खत्म हो उसके बाद का ऑल्सो दे आर एक्सक्लूडिंग दैट पीरियड, वन डे प्रायर, वन डे आफ्टर दे आर एक्सक्लूड, बट उसके अलावा इफ ही इज स्टेइंग मोर, दैट एक्सपेंडिचर हैज टू बी इंक्लूडेड. तो नाउ let's understand this based on this question, this RTP question is based. यहाँ पे क्या, ABC Limited held a dealer conference on what day, 23rd and 22nd and 23rd on August पे these conferences is on to educate the dealers about the new product being launched by it and how the product is better than the similar products of other company available in the market. ठीक है, this type of conferences they are allowing, so they can do and incur expenses, but what is not been exempted has to on that portion the TDS has to be deducted. यहाँ पे the spouse are also allowed to accompany the dealer, and they could stay in the hotel from 20th August, say they can stay being Saturday, and leisure trip was organized for dealers and their spouses on 20th and 21st of August, being the weekends. The expenses on airfare, hotel stay and leisure trip of all dealers and their spouses were met by ABC Limited. यहाँ पे breakup दिया है, some expenditure breakup is given. यहाँ पे what expenditure breakup they are providing? Airfare on Mr. Ashok Sharma. यहाँ पे this breakup is given for in respect of particular participant के लिए दिया है. उसके लिए we have to determine whether the expenditure which is being incurred for Mr. Ashok Sharma and his wife subject to TDS or not. So let's see what are the expenditure being incurred for him and his wife. 25,000 is the airfare expenditure. तो participant के लिए जो भी expenditure आपने किया in relation to that conference is not going to be this deducted TDS. But for Mrs. Ashok Sharma, the airfare being 25,000, ये include होगा because family member पे आपने whatever expenditure you are incurring for the family member has to be has to be tantamount to benefit of perquisite. तो इसमें क्या करेंगे 25,000 ये इंक्लूड कर लेंगे, उसकी वाइफ पे किया. फिर होटल स्टे इंक्लूडिंग ब्रेकफास्ट एंड डिनर ऑफ मिसेज एंड मिस्टर अशोक शर्मा दोनों के लिए ऑन 20th एंड 21st. यहाँ पे कब कॉन्फ्रेंस है आपकी? कॉन्फ्रेंस इज ऑन 22nd को है एंड 23rd. तो इससे एक दिन पहले आपका क्या है 21st आपको एक्सक्लूड कर देंगे और 24th को भी आप एक्सक्लूड 24th अगस्त और 21st अगस्त हम एक्सक्लूड कर देंगे. किसके लिए? फॉर मिस्टर शर्मा. मिस्टर शर्मा के लिए हम एक्सक्लूड करेंगे. तो इस दिन जो भी एक्सपेंडिचर करोगे अदर देन लेजर ट्रिप वो एक्सक्लूड कर देंगे. तो यहाँ पे क्या हुआ 20th एंड 21st को हाउ मच एक्सपेंडिचर दे आर डूइंग ऑन होटल स्टे 30,000 राइट. 30,000 में अब कितना है 15,000 आप मान लो दोनों दिन का है. ठीक है 15,000 फॉर बोथ द पर्सन. तो मिसेस अशोक का लिए 15,000 हम पूरा इंक्लूड कर लेंगे. ठीक है और ये आया आपका रिमेनिंग 15,000 दो दिन का है तो 21st का वी कैन एक्सक्लूड. इट विल नॉट बी इंक्लूडेड एज एक्सपेंडिचर. तो 21st का नहीं करेंगे बट 20th का यू हैव टू. सो इसका कितना आ जाएगा 7,500. मिस्टर अशोक का ऑल्सो हैज टू बी इंक्लूडेड. ठीक है फिर आया होटल स्टे कब आया 22nd एंड 23rd का फॉर मिस्टर एंड मिसेस अशोक शर्मा बोथ के लिए 28,000 being incurred. So इसमें क्या है on the days of this business conferences that will not be included for the participant but for the family member it has to be included. So family member का कितना है 14,000. ठीक है ये मिसेस अशोक का है. मिसेस अशोक है एंड 75,000 ये जो अमाउंट था ये मिस्टर अशोक का था बिकॉज एक दिन पहले प्रायर टू हाँ 2 दिन पहले होगा. मतलब एक दिन का तो इंक्लूड नहीं करेंगे उससे पहले का आपको इंक्लूड करना है. देन एक्सपेंसेस फॉर लेजर ट्रिप. लेजर ट्रिप आप कभी 20th एंड 21st के दोनों को इंक्लूड करना पड़ेगा. लेजर ट्रिप हैज टू बी इंक्लूडेड. सो 22,000 आप ये भी इंक्लूड करोगे. फिर कॉन्फ्रेंसेस एक्सपेंसेस हुए फॉर मिस्टर अशोक. कॉन्फ्रेंसेस एक्सपेंसेस नीड नॉट टू बी इंक्लूडेड. तो यहाँ पे कितना अमाउंट आएगा इट इज कम्स टू 83,500. इस पे क्या होगा ये सारा आपका देख रहे हो आप 1 जुलाई के बाद एक्सपेंसेस आर बीइंग इनकर्ड. सो होलसेल टैक्सी इज योर 20,000 limit and ABC Limited has to deduct the TDS at the rate 10%. So यहाँ पे question what would be the value of benefit or perquisite on which TDS tax is to be deducted under section 194R. The answer is 83,500. So in this respect एक तो आपको डेट से याद रखना है प्लस बहुत अच्छे से you have to understand read the guidelines given in the your supplementary study paper. Read it carefully. New section है इस पे question can be framed right.
Any doubts? All of you are clear with this? Dealer conference 194R is a very important provision from the point of view of the exams.
Yeah.
It's a new provision and many issues have cropped up because of which clarifications have been given. Go through the guidelines very Ashish has raised. Why? 7,500 is included because you are allowed to come only one day before. Even the dealer himself, only one day before he is permitted to come, before the conference. Otherwise, normally speaking, what? You have to give only for the days of the conference. But one day prior is allowed normally because it's very difficult to come the day of the conference itself. So one day prior, they won't treat it as a perquisite. But this person came 2 days before. So Monday or Tuesday ka conference, he came on Saturday itself. Saturday is not allowed for the dealer. Saturday, Sunday, both are not allowed for the dealer's wife. For dealer, one day prior is allowed. Had he come on Sunday, there would have been no perquisite on account of this. But he had come on Saturday itself. So, 1/2 of 15,000 because it's given that the expenditure was equal for each person for each day. The expenditure was equal for each person. So, for Ashok, this one. Go up also. It was equal. 30,000 was equal. That means it is 15,000 for Ashok Sharma, 15,000 for Mrs. Ashok Sharma, and this was equal for each day, means it was 7,500 per day. So for Ashok Sharma, Sunday expenditure is allowed, Saturday expenditure is not allowed. I mean, that is treated as a perquisite. Saturday expenditure will be treated as a perquisite, Sunday expenditure will not be treated as a perquisite. For Mrs. Sharma, full 15,000 will be treated as a perquisite. And of course, here 28,000 में 14,000 for Mrs. Sharma will be treated. For Mr. Sharma, because it was conference days, so it was not treated as a perquisite. Hope it's clear, Ashish. This is given as part of your guidelines itself. Why are we taking Monday prior and all those things? It's given as part of your guidelines.
Yeah, it's covered here also. I have covered it. This portion here it's clearly mentioned. If you see the guidelines, they are saying the following expenses would be considered benefit or perquisite. यहाँ पे मानेंगे these expenses. क्या दिया है? Family members का, family member का all expenses. ठीक है, लेजर ट्रिप पे चाहे पार्टिसिपेंट हो और फैमिली मेंबर, बोथ यू हैव टू इंक्लूड. और पार्टिसिपेंट्स के लिए क्या एक्सक्लूड किया? 1 day प्रायर टू द बिजनेस कॉन्फ्रेंस डे और 1 day आफ्टर द कॉन्फ्रेंस. तो दोनों दिन का आपको नथिंग विल बी इंक्लूडेड. बट उसके पहले आ रहा है बिकॉज 20th का दे रहे हैं. सो 22nd and 23rd तक the conferences days. So 21st का need not to be included, but 20th का has to be included. You have to include. So 20th का expenditure we have included.
That's why 7,500. Yeah. Sure. Now we come to charitable trusts. 115 BBI. The new section which has been inserted, which provides for taxability of specified income at 30%. Specified income at 30%. And it says that in respect of this income, you don't get any deduction, allowances, no set off, nothing is permissible against the specified income. Now, what is the specified income? 115 BBI tells us what is the specified income. Okay, now let's go to 115 BBI. So 30% rate, what I told you, rate is 30%, no deduction is allowable for expenditure or allowance. Now, meaning of specified income and what is going to affect in your scenario also. I'll concentrate more on that. Now, specified income means income accumulated or set apart in excess of 15% of the income, where such accumulation is not allowed under any specific provision of the Act. So, accumulation normally 11.2 specifies certain condition. If it's not as per that, then some income is accumulated, then that income you take. Okay. Then deemed income on account of violation of certain conditions stipulated for accumulation of income under 11.3 or corresponding provision in 1023C. Our question is about 11. So we'll talk about 11. So 11.2 permits you to accumulate income if you file the statement in Form 10 within the specified time, file your return of income, and you've invested in forms and modes specified in 11.5. Okay, and 11.3 specifies certain conditions that you have to apply for charitable purposes. If you apply for other than charitable purposes, then it will be deemed as your income. Or if suppose you don't invest, if it ceases to remain invested in for 11.5 modes, then also it's a violation. 11.3 wala violation, I'm telling you. And one more violation is, out of that accumulated income, I cannot donate to another charitable trust. Even if it's registered under Section 12AB, even if it has the same object, still out of accumulated income, that is not permissible. If the trust does that, then that amount, whatever amount it has applied for that particular purpose, whatever amount it has donated, will be treated as a specified income. See, when is donation permitted? Out of normal current year income, donation to another registered trust is permitted, except towards the corpus of that trust. Okay. If you're not making a normal donation out of your current year income, that is permissible, except as a corpus donation. But when you're accumulating the income, 11.2, and accumulated income is supposed to be used for specified purposes. That accumulated income, if you are going to donate it to another charitable trust, even by way of normal donations, that is not permitted, and that amount which you've donated will be treated as your specified income. Okay? Then on account of violation of deemed application provisions under 11.1b, 11.1b states what? That normally if I don't receive my income during the current year, or if I receive it in the fag end of the year, I'm not able to apply it, then what should I do? I will apply it in the, when I'm not receiving it in the current year, I'm receiving it in the next year, say. Then I have to apply in that year or the year immediately thereafter. So there, if suppose I'm not complying with those conditions, then it's a deemed violation again. Then income is not, which is not exempt under 1023C or 11 on account of the funds of the trust or institution being invested otherwise in forms and modes specified under 11.5. Okay, so this is also one of the conditions. If you are going to invest it in forms and modes other than specified. Suppose I have received a corpus donation. One of the conditions is that I have to invest it in 11.5 modes. Instead of investing it in 11.5 modes, I invest it in some other mode. Then that part of the amount which I've invested in some other mode, that would be included as a specified income, and it will be subject to tax under 115 BBI. Then income which is applied for the benefit of any specified prohibited person referred to in 13.3. Okay, so trustee of the trust, settler of the trust, and person who has made a substantial contribution to the trust. Substantial contribution means at the end of the previous year, if the person has made a contribution exceeding 50,000, then it will be treated as a substantial contribution. And suppose I'm applying any income for the benefit of that person, then that will be treated to be a specified income. But kindly note, 13.3, trustees are included, settler is included, person who's made substantial contribution is included, but employees are not covered under this. So if I've applied any income of the trust for the benefit of an employee, okay, of course it must be towards the object of the trust, then that is not treated as employee is not a specified prohibited person. This you have to keep it in mind. So what exactly you have to keep in mind for the purpose of this case scenario also, like 11.2, when I'm accumulating income, it's specified to certain condition. Suppose that condition I'm not fulfilling. Okay. Suppose I'm not fulfilling, suppose I'm donating it to some other charitable trust out of that accumulated income, then that is a specified violation. It will be treated as a specified income amount donated. Then if I'm investing my corpus donations in any other mode other than 11.5, then that is also a violation that would be subject to treated as a specified income, the amount which I'm investing in some other mode. Then which I'm applying in the benefit for a specified person, applying for the benefit of a specified person. Okay. Then, so like a trustee, I'm applying for the trustee is a prohibited person under 33. Then that part of the income which I've applied for the benefit of the trustee will be subject to tax at 30%. A person who's made substantial contribution exceeding 50,000, if I'm applying any part of the income for the benefit of that person, that part which I've applied will be treated as a specified income. Okay, but employee is not included in this. Okay. Now come to the main question. I explained this provision because it will be easier for you to answer the question. Now let's read the question. Compute the specified income taxable at 30% under 115 BBI in case of a registered charitable trust EduAid running an educational institution from the information given below relating to previous year 22-23. Corpus donations received by the trust is 12,20,000. Same has been invested. Mode of investment in PO savings bank account. Yeah, this is the mode specified in 11.5. Post office savings bill comes in many questions. Okay. Fixed deposits with SBI. This is also permitted. SBI is a scheduled bank. Deposits with a scheduled bank is a permitted mode. Deposit with a cooperative bank, including a cooperative land development bank or a land mortgage bank, that is also a 11.5 mode. It's permitted. Deposit with NBFC engaged in retail car finance. Definitely it's not a permitted mode. It's not in the list specified in 11.5. So this 4 lakh, all these will not be treated as specified income because these are permitted modes under 11.5. But 4 lakh 10,000 is not a permissible mode. Deposit with an NBFC engaged in retail trade. So that will be your specified income. So now I will just write what is specified income here. 4 lakh 10,000 deposit with NBFC engaged in retail car finance. It's not a mode specified in 11.5. So that will be a specified income chargeable to tax at 30%. Then income applied by the trust for the benefit of the following donors. There are 3 donors here: Valish, Ritesh and Arjun. This is the total contribution they've made up to the end of the previous year, and this is the income applied for the benefit. 15,000 is for benefit of Valish, 20,000 Ritesh and 30,000 is for the benefit of Arjun. Now, 24,000 is the contribution, is the substantial contribution, means greater than 50,000. Only then the person is a prohibited person. So 24,000, it's not a substantial contribution. 48,000 is also not a substantial, it's lower than 50,000. Arjun has made a contribution of 96,000. So Arjun is a person who's made substantial contribution. So amount applied for the benefit of Arjun will be for the benefit of a specified prohibited person. So 30,000 will be included, not the amount donated, the amount applied for the benefit of the person. So you have to see 30,000. So it's already we've seen 4 lakh 10,000. 4 lakh 10,000 was already there. Now you have to add 30,000. Now, income applied by the trust for the benefit of Vaibhav Gupta, trustee of the trust. Trustee of the trust is a prohibited person, so income applied for his benefit has to be included in specified income. Income applied for the by the trust for the benefit of Shamlal, Manohar Arora, Sridhar Agarwal being employees of the trust by way of interest-free loan to them for pursuing higher education. Okay. Now, what is this trust basically? This trust is basically EduAid. It is running an educational institution and its main object is education. Okay? So here it is given it to the employees by way of interest-free loans for pursuing higher education. Higher education is the object of the trust, and employees are not prohibited person. Employees or even workers, as Ashish Rajwani has said, they are not prohibited persons. So this is permissible. So this will not be included in specified income. Now coming to the most important thing. See, value of education service made available by the trust through its education institution to the 2 children of Vaibhav Gupta. Vaibhav Gupta is the trustee. You are making educational service available by the trust. This is not application for the benefit of Vaibhav Gupta. Note the difference. Application for the benefit of Vaibhav Gupta will be a application for the benefit of a specified person, prohibited person under 13.3. That would be a specified income, which is 25,200. But if an educational institution provides educational services to the children of Vaibhav Gupta, then 12.2, provisions of 12.2 will be attracted. 12.2 says that such amount, 14,500, will be deemed income. Will be deemed income, of course. But this income does not fall within the purview of 115 BBI. It does not attract 115 BBI. It's not included in the list of specified income given under 115 BBI. 12.2, the value of educational services, or if it's a hospital, medical services provided to the prohibited persons or their family, that is deemed income, definitely a deemed income. It is not allowed as application, but such deemed income is not subject to tax under 115 BBI. So it is not a specified income under 115 BBI, though it is a deemed income. It will be deemed as an income for charitable trust, but it is not taxable at 30%. I hope this is clear. That's why we are not including this. If I applied some income for the benefit of Vaibhav Gupta, then it is a violation. 13.3, it's an application for the benefit of a specified person under 13.3. That part of the income, 25,200, is my specified income. But if an educational institution provides educational service or a hospital provides medical service to the trustee or any of the specified prohibited persons under 13(3), then though it is deemed as income, yes, it is deemed as income, it is not allowed as application, all that is there, but that is not income for the purpose of Section 115 BBI. I hope this is clear. So 14,500 we will not be including. Likewise, value of educational services made available by a trust through its educational use to the children of Manohar Arora, Sridhar Agarwal. Here again, employees anyway are not specified prohibited persons, so the question does not arise. Even if they have been specified prohibited persons, 115 BBI would not apply. In this case, they are not. Okay. Then last one, amount set apart in previous year 21-22 by the trust for the charitable purposes under 11(2). In the previous year 22-23, it was set apart in the previous year 21-23. It is utilized in the previous year 22-23 for making donation to another charitable trust whose object is also education. Already we've seen 11(3) does not permit this. This is a violation of 11(3). Accumulated income I cannot use for making donation to another charitable trust, even if it is not a corpus donation, even if it is the other trust has the same object, immaterial. It is not allowed out of accumulated income, and this will be treated as a specified income, which we've seen under 115 BBI2. So 2,13,000 has to be included. 2,13,000 I'll have to include. So I hope I've taken everything. First, I have to include 4,10,000 deposit with NBFC, which is not a prescribed mode. Person substantial contribution, Arjun, he's made a contribution of 96,000. But what I have to take for specified information income is amount which is applied, that is 30,000. Then applied for the benefit of trustees, 25,200. Employees is not prohibited person, so 32,000 I don't take. Value of educational services made available to the children of Vaibhav Gupta, 12(2) may will be deemed as income, but it's not specified income under 115 BBI. 21,300 again, it's not specified income. 2,13,000 is donation to another charitable trust out of past accumulated income. That is a violation. So now what is my specified income? 4,10,000 plus 30,000, 4,40,000, 4,65,000. 2 lakh is 5,65,000, 6,65,000, 6,78,000. I think so. 6,78,000. 200. 200 is also coming somewhere. Yeah, it's 25,200. So it's 6,78,200. That's the right answer. No? Let me check up. 6,78,200 is the correct answer. Yes. I hope this is clear. Ashish, you're right. I hope this is very clear. Specified income, they've given that certain violations, certain violations if they commit, that amount applied will be treated as a specified income. Okay. And so accordingly, what are those violations have been listed under 115 BBI itself. 12(2), value of educational or medical services provided by an educational institution or a hospital to the prohibited persons, it will be deemed as income. Definitely it will be deemed as income. It will not be allowed as application, but it's not a specified income which is taxable under 115 BBI. So that should not be included. However, if I'm going to apply the income for the benefit of the prohibited persons, in such a case, that part of the income will be treated as specified income. And employees are not prohibited persons. These are the some things which I wanted to tell you. I hope this is clear. This is a very important section. Hope it's clear. Ashish, Prasad, Manisha.
Ashish answered it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we'll go to the next question.
Prashant, you have raised a query relating to MTP. Actually, MTP is not available with us right now. You can ask this question through our mail or on our BOS portal. So we can answer this query there. Right now, we do not have the question of MTP and not able to understand. Actually, we have to say it. What exactly your question? Then your this question is basically based on the judicial ruling. which is being given your judicial update, wherein the Supreme Court has overruled Kerala High Court ruling in relation to Section 271C. Basically, इसमें क्या है? In the Supreme Court has overruled the earlier ruling where the Supreme Court has said that this Section 271C, which is for penalty, which is attracted where the for failure to deduct TDS. So here Supreme Court clearly saying that this penalty is not attracted where the assessee has failed to deposit the TDS, not failed to deduct. It's clearly, since section says, what section it says? Section 271C says that in case of failure on the part of the assessee to deduct the whole or any part of the tax as required by under the provisions of chapter 17B. So where fails to deduct is used in section 271C, right? So accordingly, they are saying that the intent is not to levy penalty in case failure to deposit that amount which is being deducted. So wherever it is clear that interest is attracted, section 271(1)(a) says that. In case of 276B, prosecution, where prosecution is leviable, prosecution provisions are attracted under section 276B. There it clearly says that there where the person fails to deposit that sum which is being deducted, then 276B penalty would be prosecution would be attracted. Like 271(1)(a) क्या है? Provides for levy of interest where the person fails to deduct the TDS, or then after deducting fails to deposit that TDS, the interest will be leviable. तो यहाँ पे बहुत क्लियरली लिखा हुआ है, बट 271C में नहीं लिखा. 271C बोलता है कि where the assessee fails to deduct that part, then only penalty provisions would be attracted, right? So words fails to deduct cannot be read as fails to deposit, the Supreme Court says. So accordingly, the Kerala High Court ruling reported in our study material, Eurotech Maritime, is not relevant for you, is being reversed. So ignore that case law and read this ruling. Now what the question is saying.
I don't know which question you are talking about. Are you talking about 115 BBI? If it is 115 BBI, it was inserted by the Finance Act 2022 with effect from assessment year 23-24. So as regards these sections, what we are dealing with right now is already
exist. These sections are already exist, but relating to that ruling, of course, being reversed by the Supreme.
You have to read the supplementary, Harsh Goel. Supplementary mein these things are given. Charitable trust, the entire thing has been given again in the study material because it was completely revamped last year. I would advise everyone to read the supplementary study paper for charitable trust. A lot of amendments have taken place there, and so the entire content of that is given.
Yes. In this question, ABC Limited has failed to deduct TDS on payment to contractor during the previous year 22-23, even though payments exceed threshold limit. So 194C is attracted, but they failed to deduct it. Or another entity, XYZ Limited, has deducted tax of rupees 62 lakhs on payments made to contractors on time, but not remitted the same up to 31/3/24. Abhi tak they have not remitted that amount. So which of the following statements and the statements are being given in the options? What would be attractive? 201(1)(a) says he fails to deduct TDS 1% interest would be leviable, where you have deducted but fails to deposit that amount to the central government, then you have to 1.5% interest would be leviable, right? So in first case, both the things interest would be leviable, but 271(1)(c) we have already seen Supreme Court says ki where assessee fails to deduct, then 271(c), but where assessee deducted but fails to remit it, then 271(c) will not be attracted, right? But where the assessee fails to deposit also, prosecution proceedings will be initiated in case of the assessee. So यहाँ पे first option is interest under section 201(1)(a), penalty under section 271(c), and prosecution under section 276(b) would be attracted both in the hands of ABC Limited, XYZ Limited. In case of ABC Limited, 201(1)(a) would be attracted. ABC Limited में क्या होगा आपका? 201(1)(a) will be there. Our 271(c) की penalty because he fails to deduct itself. तो ये नहीं attract होगी. 276(b) की penalty prosecution will be initiated, can be initiated. और XYZ के केस में क्या हुआ? He has that it has deducted but fails to remit that amount. So 2011A दोनों लगेगा. इंटरेस्ट आपका कंप्यूट दोनों केस में 1%, 1.5% बोथ केसेस में होगा. फ्रॉम दैट पीरियड टू पीरियड यू हैव टू सी. एंड देन 271C, यहाँ पे 271C अट्रैक्ट होगा बिकॉज he has fails to remit that. Sorry, I am going wrong actually. I am doing here wrong. तो यहाँ पे क्या है, he fails to deduct this. fails to deduct के लिए 271C की ये अट्रैक्ट होगी. ये अट्रैक्ट होगा आपका, ठीक है, 271C, क्योंकि यहाँ पे fails to deduct है. He has not fails to remit it. He fails to deduct itself. 271C में पेनल्टी कब लगती है, जहाँ पे fails to deduct है, तो 271(6) लगेगा. बट यहाँ पे आपने क्या किया, 276B की प्रोसिक्यूशन प्रोसीडिंग नहीं लगेगी बिकॉज ही हैज नॉट इट्स डिडक्ट ही नहीं किया, तो रेमिटेंस का क्वेश्चन ही अराइज नहीं होता यहाँ पे, तो ये अट्रैक्ट नहीं होगा. यहाँ पे XYZ के केस में क्या क्या है, दे हैव डिडक्टेड बट नॉट डिपॉजिटेड, तो ये तो होगा, ये होगा, ये होगा, यानी 271C की पेनल्टी लगेगी या नहीं लगेगी, नो, दिस वुड नॉट बी. बट यहाँ पे 276B की प्रोसिक्यूशन विल बी एप्लीकेबल, राइट. So first option is not correct because here all the things are attracted is written. In option C, interest under section 201(1)(a), penalty under section 271C would be attracted in case of ABC Limited. Right? Interest under section 201(1)(a), penalty under section 271C and prosecution under section 276B would be attracted in case of XYZ Limited. यहाँ पे तीनों चीजें नहीं लगेगी, यहाँ पे 271C नहीं 276B लगेगा सिर्फ, ठीक है. सो सी ऑप्शन में इंटरेस्ट अंडर सेक्शन 201(1)(a), पेनल्टी अंडर सेक्शन 271C वुड बी अट्रैक्टेड इन केस ऑफ ABC लिमिटेड. Yes, interest under section 201(1)(a and prosecution proceeding in 276B would be at XYZ limited. This is the correct option. यहाँ पे आपको देखो तीन चीजें जो हैव टू कीप इन माइंड. 201(1)(a दोनों केसेस में अट्रैक्ट होता है.
रेट इज डिफरेंट.
हाँ, रेट इज डिफरेंट, 1% and 1.5% rate, and according period also has to be calculated accordingly. Then 271C कहाँ fails to deduct के केस में होगा और fails to remit के केस में नहीं होगा, ठीक है. 276B where fails to remit, तो यहाँ पे ABC limited fails to deduct, so 201(1)(a plus 271C penalty was attracted. But XYZ के केस में 201(a) both cases fails to deduct or fails to remit also. 276B की penalty would prosecution would be attracted. So accordingly, the option C is correct. Right. So this is with regard to this question. So read the judicial update. Actually, this is very important for you to read this judicial updates.
Otherwise, it was as per what was given in the study was different because it has subsequently undergone a change. So now we come to the last question. I think we have to rush through this also because the next session is likely to start fast. This is the last MCQ in the RTP also. Okay, it's talking about a case of REIT.
Should we share with this case law 12? Here the Supreme Court law is deciding for the penalty only. Penalty के लिए they are saying कि penalty attract नहीं होगी for failure to pay the deposit, right? But they are saying not talking about the prosecution thing. They are saying कि जहाँ पे prosecution लग रहा है वहाँ पे clearly उन्हें prosecution कब लग रहा है when they are fails to deposit the sum. But 271C talks about only fails to deduct. तो आप ऐसे अपने मन से you cannot levy the penalty until unless it is clearly mentioned in the section itself. तो यहाँ पे सुप्रीम केस लो 12 is with respect to 271C. Another case law 13th is with respect to this 276B. कहाँ पे prosecution proceedings would be applicable, right? Yeah, this thing.
Now this is a case of REIT. and it's testing the dividend stripping provisions under 94(7) also. There's been an amendment in that. Okay. Now we are talking about 3 REITs here. X is a resident Indian. He is in receipt of income from Ganga REIT, Yamuna REIT and Indus REIT. In the previous year, the particulars of which are followed. Special purpose vehicle of REIT, A Limited. First, let me tell you, a REIT is a real estate investment trust. Okay. It invests in completed revenue generating properties, rental income from revenue generating properties. That is, completed properties it invests in primarily. Okay. That it can do directly. If it directly invests in completed revenue generating properties, what income it will get? It will get a rental income. Okay. Or it can do it through a special purpose vehicle. Special purpose vehicle is an Indian company. Okay, now this Indian company will in turn invest in completed revenue generating properties. Either it is directly investing, some part of it can directly invest, it can get rent. Other part of it can invest through its SPV, which is an Indian company, and Indian company will in turn invest in completed revenue generating properties, and it will get its income. Now, what will REIT do? REIT will either invest in the capital of the Indian company, in which case Indian company will pay dividend to REIT, or it will give a loan to the Indian company, in which case the Indian company will give interest to REIT. Okay. Now, these 3 income, this interest income from SPV, dividend income from SPV, and rental income from completed, directly it's investing. It is not going, some part of it will directly invest also in completed properties. Then we'll get a rental income. For these dividend, rent and interest, the REIT as such, REIT is a real estate investment. It enjoys a pass-through status. Okay. And these 3 incomes are taxable in the hands of the unit holders. Unit holders of REIT. And in the hands of the unit holders, the income, character of the income, rent, dividend and interest will be the same in the hands of the unit holders also. What it was in the hands of the REIT. Okay. This is necessary. This much of understanding is necessary. Now, as far as dividend is concerned, dividend income will be, all these 3 it enjoys pass-through status. But if the Indian company is not opting for 115BEA, that is the SPV, is not opting for 115BEA, then additional benefit is available. REIT enjoys pass-through status, otherwise it would be taxable in the hands of the unit holders. But if the Indian company does not opt for 115BEA, that dividend income alone will be exempt in the hands of unit holders. I'm talking only about dividend now. Dividend will be exempt if the SPV does not opt for 115BEA. If the SPV, Indian company, opts for 115BEA, then the dividend income will be taxable in the hands of the unit holders. Then REIT will have to deduct tax at source. For all the 3 income, rent, interest and dividend, for which the REIT enjoys pass-through status and it is taxable in the hands of unit holders, REIT has to deduct tax at source. However, if the SPV does not opt for 115BEA, then that I told you that part of the dividend income alone will be exempt in the hands of unit holders. Once it is exempt in the hands of unit holders, REIT need not deduct tax at source. However, if it opts for 115BEA, then it will become taxable in the hands of the unit holders. Then REIT has to deduct tax at source at 10% on such dividend income. Okay? This is one provision which is being tested. I hope this is clear. Prasad, I am speaking English only.
I think he is asking about the Supreme Court case law.
Okay. We'll come back to that. I'll just finish this. We'll come back to that. Okay. Okay. Now, here there are 3 REITs, Ganga, Yamuna and Indus REIT. And okay, the investors X holds, he's in receipt of income from all 3 REITs. The SPV for Ganga REIT is A Limited. A Limited opts for 115BEA. In this case, what happened? Dividend income is taxable in the hands of unit holder, in the hands of X. Okay. B Limited does not opt. C Limited also does not opt. So in these 2 cases, dividend income will be exempt in the hands of X. This is what we've studied. Okay. Now the other provision which you are testing in this question is the dividend stripping provision. Okay. Once a person, Mr. X, is in receipt of exempt income. In these two cases, where B and C limited, it's exempt income. Dividend income will be exempt in the hands. So, and if then 94(7) will be attractive, because units of a business trust have been included in the definition of units under 94(7) by the Finance Act 2022. Okay. So now what will happen when a dividend stripping provisions are attracted? If there is a record date, in this case, the record date is given as 1st June 2022. Let me read the question fully. Date of purchase of the units of REIT by Mr. X. This is important for dividend stripping. It's 1/4/2002, 1/1/2002, and 1/4/2022. Dividend component of income received from SPV and distributed to REIT by REIT to Mr. X in June 22. It's been distributed. 40,000, 35,000, 42,000. So this only I said, na, A limited opts for 115 BAA. So in this case, it's taxable in the hands of Mr. X. For 35,000 and 42,000, it is exempt in the hands of Mr. X. Okay. Now, if we go further, record date is 1st June 2022 for all three REITs. Are Ganga, Yamuna and Indus REIT required to deduct tax at source on dividend component of income? That's the first question. Ganga, Yamuna and Indus REIT. First part of the question, let's answer. It's very simple. What I told you, in case of A limited opts for 115 BAA. So dividend income is taxable in the hands of Mr. X. Okay. So of course the REIT will have to deduct tax at source at 10%. Ganga Limited ke liye. Okay. Yamuna and Indus Limited don't opt for 115 BAA. So dividend income is exempt in the hands of Mr. X. So these two, Yamuna and Indus, need not deduct tax at source. Ganga Limited has to deduct tax at source at 10%. Yamuna and Indus REIT need not deduct tax because the SPV has not opted for 115 BAA. I hope this is clear. What is dividend stripping? I will explain, Prasad. Now we come to dividend stripping. Dividend stripping happens when a person X is in receipt of exempt income. Which are the exempt income in this case? 35,000 and 42,000 are exempt income. This is taxable income. These two are exempt income. Reason why just now I told you. When you receive exempt dividend, okay, later on you are selling the units at a loss. Okay, and that loss you are this is also exempt income. You are incurring loss also. That loss will normally be eligible for set off against some other income. So they don't want to permit that practice. You are buying units only for this purpose. You get dividend income, which is exempt. And later on, you're going to sell it off at a loss. And then you're eligible for set off of that losses also. Double benefit you're getting. So to prevent this, 94(7) has introduced dividend stripping provisions. What is a dividend stripping? Now the record date is 1st June 2022. Dividend stripping provision says that if before 3 months, prior to 1/6/2022, 3 months prior is what? May, April, March, 1/3/2022 ke baad, if I purchase the units, after 1/3/2022, if I purchase the units of REIT, then I'm getting dividend income. And then within a period of 9 months thereafter, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, up to 1/3/2023. Nah, I'm telling correctly, na? July, August, September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb. No, I made a mistake. July, August, September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb. Sorry, it's 1/2/2023, not 1/3. Okay, it's 1/2/2023. Within this time, within a period of 9 months, I'm selling the unit and I'm incurring a loss. Okay, and I'm getting an exempt income also. Then to the extent of that exempt income, I will not be able to set off my losses. Will not be allowed to be set off or carry forward. This is the provision of dividend stripping under 94(7). For that, I have to satisfy all the conditions. First thing, I should have purchased it only after 1/3/2022 and I should have sold it within a period of 9 months. So here what they are giving, the question is about, would dividend stripping provisions be attracted if Mr. X sells all the units at a loss in Jan 2023? Jan 2023 is within 9 months because Feb 2023 only that period of 9 months expires. So selling part of it, the condition is satisfied in these two cases. What about the buying part? In this case, in the case of Yamuna REIT, I purchased it on 1/1/2022. Whereas the 3 months prior to 1/6, record date is 1/6/2022. 3 months prior is after 1/3/2022. I purchased it before that. I purchased it even prior to 1/3/2022. So in this case, dividend stripping provisions will not be attracted. Whereas in the case of Indus REIT, I purchased it on 1/4/2022, which is falling within the immediately prior to 3 months period. 1/6/2002 ka 3 months prior period is up to 1/3/2022. So 1/4/2022 falls within the 3-month period. And I'm selling it also within the 9 months period. In all cases, I'm selling it in January 23. And I'm getting exempt income also of 42,000. So in this case, Indus REIT's case, dividend stripping provisions will be attracted. Because I purchased it 3 months prior to the record date, I'm selling it within 7 months after, within 9 months after the record, within 9 months after the record date, and I'm incurring a loss also. That is given in the question. I'm incurring a loss also in January 23, and I'm getting an exempt income of 42,000. In such a case, so Indus REIT, if I'm going to sell, dividend stripping provisions will be attracted. In case of Ganga REIT, it won't be attracted because dividend income is anyway taxable. So I don't need to see anything at all. Date of purchase, even though the date of purchase may be 1/4/2002, it doesn't matter because my income is taxable in this case. That's what makes the difference. Whereas in the case of Yamuna REIT, 35,000 is definitely exempt, but my date of purchase is beyond 3 months. So dividend stripping provisions will not be attracted. Okay. So which option is correct? Who is required to deduct tax at source? Ganga REIT is required to deduct tax at source because dividend is taxable in the hands of Mr. X. First we decided, na, Yamuna and Indus REIT, they don't need to deduct tax at source because dividend is exempt in the hands of X. In these two cases, because the SPV does not exercise option under 115 BAA. So first part of the question is Ganga REIT is required to deduct tax at source. Second part of the question is dividend stripping provisions will be attracted in case of sale of Indus REIT alone and not in case of Ganga and Yamuna REIT. So correct option is Ganga REIT is required to deduct tax at source at 10%. Yamuna and Indus REIT are not required to. This first part of the statement is right. You have to see whether both the statements are right. Dividend stripping provisions would be attracted in case of sale of units of Yamuna REIT and Indus REIT at a loss. No. Dividend provisions, stripping provisions is attracted only in the case of sale of Indus REIT, units of Indus REIT. So the last one is the correct one. Ganga REIT is required to deduct tax at source at 10%, whereas Yamuna and Indus REIT are not required to deduct tax at source. Dividend stripping provisions would be attracted in case of sale of units of Indus REIT at a loss, but not in case of sale of units of Ganga REIT or Yamuna REIT. Okay, so this is the correct option. D is the correct option. I hope this is clear. Two provisions are being tested. First of all, relating to deduction of tax at source, and second, relating to applicability of dividend provisions. D is the correct option. I hope this is clear. Ishika, what's your doubt? Ishika says she has a doubt. What is it? If you tell me your doubt, I can answer it. Just come down.
No, this is phenomenal.
You have not told me your doubt. See, in case the SPV, that is the Indian company, is opting for 115 BAA, then in such a case, the dividend income would be taxable in the hands of the unit holder. In this case, here. Okay. In this case, see, A Limited opts for 115 BAA. So dividend income will be taxable in the hands of X Limited. Okay. Yamuna and Indus REIT, their SPV is B Limited and C Limited. They've given, there are 3 different SPVs for 3 different REITs. In this case, B Limited does not opt for 115 BAA, Yamuna REIT ka be in. So if it does not opt for BAA, the dividend income will be exempt. That is why dividend stripping provisions are attracted, provided other conditions are fulfilled. In this case, because it's going beyond the 3-month period, dividend stripping provisions are not attracted in case of Yamuna Limited. Indus Limited, again, C Limited is the SPV which does not opt for 115 BAA. Because it does not opt for 115 BAA, 42,000 is exempt. Okay. Now, that is the first part of it. So only Ganga in case of Ganga Limited, the SPV opts for 115 BAA, so dividend becomes taxable in the hands of X, so tax. Ganga REIT has to deduct tax. Yamuna and industry need not deduct tax only on dividend income. Question talks only about dividend income. On other interest income or rental income, they'll have to deduct tax. So question is talking about dividend income. Now, dividend stripping provisions will be attracted only where dividend income is exempt in the hands of unit holder. So for Ganga REIT, it's taxable. So you need not consider dividend stripping provisions at all because it's taxable. Yamuna and industry, it is exempt. So you have to see whether other conditions are fulfilled. The purchase should be 3 months before the record date. Sale should be 9 months, within 9 months after the record date. It is January 2023 in all 3 cases, so it's within 9 months of the record date. But purchase in case of Yamuna Limited is even prior to 3 months. Record date is 1/6/2022. So you have to see 1/3/2022 ke baad, if the purchase had been made, it would have been liable for dividend stripping. So even prior to that, the purchase had been made. So in this case, dividend stripping provisions is not attracted. In Indus REIT case, it was purchased on 1/4/2022, which is within 3 months prior to the record date of 1/6/2022. Sale has been in January 23 again, and loss has been incurred. So in this case, dividend stripping provisions will be attracted. I hope it's clear, Ishika. I didn't know what your doubt was, but I've just explained the whole thing again. Okay?
Now I think we have to wind up.
Yeah. The next session is coming, and all the best to all of you.
Wish you all the best to all of you. Prepare well, do well, and definitely you will get succeeded.
Ishika, you read the provisions once again, 94/7. You read the provisions once again. You see the lecture. Probably you'll be able to understand it better. Okay.
Thank you.
All the best to all of you.